All right, greetings, brothers and sisters. Shabbat Shalom. All right, so for this lesson, we are going to get into the long awaited lesson on Iran. Okay, so this is going to be called The Last Days, a Nation of No Voice. Now, I don't mean no disrespect to my uh, Iranian brothers and sisters out there, but you'll understand as we go through this introduction, and I'll touch on why I called Iran a nation of no voice. And I read, for the past 10 years, and a little bit more as well, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the world has been at awe of Iran, from countless news headlines swaying the minds to think that Iran is an evil country that just hates American people. One would clearly believe that that's why the US government has tarnished the name of decent Iranians while dragging them under the bus as a whole rather than clarifying that the issue is select individuals, whomever they may be. To the right is a picture of a painting in Iran that depicts the United States as death or the devil. Even though this picture still stands today, one would have to understand how the distaste for America has grown so strong in Iran before just assuming that everyone hates America and Americans in general. Now, excuse me, a little typo. It says this lesson today. This will not be one lesson. This will be a series. So, this lesson will be a brief understanding of the history of Iran, the biblical history of Iran, and how Iran will affect everyone in the upcoming future. Okay. Now, really quickly, you see in my title, I said a nation of no voice. And then if you look at the first stanza, or what some call a paragraph, I'm talking about the world being in awe of Iran, right? They're fearful, they don't like them, right? Everyone's like, oh, they're against Israel and Christians for Israel, and, we hate Iran and all this. I'm going to prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that the devil is deceiving you, okay, if you think like that. Not only is the devil deceiving people in Iran because of, Islam, but they're also deceiving many people who carry the Bible, who call themselves believers of Christ. Now, a nation of no voice. Why did I say Iran is a nation of no voice? Isn't it funny how before 2020, the lockdowns and all the things that occurred, that when Donald Trump was in office, everyone hated Iran. It was about stop them with the nuclear deal, we'll blow them up, we'll kill them, right? Even prior to the other presidents, right? It's always been an issue. In this series of Iran, we're going to get deeply into this, okay? Because why all of a sudden is the world in an outcry over a woman who was killed, as they say, right? Who was killed over hijab and what they say as immodest clothing. Why all of a sudden? Okay. And I'm going to leave it at why all of a sudden because I'm going to show you some things, right, to back up my claim. Now, this is the table of contents. It's called O Iran. It says past. We're going to go from the past the present, and the future. So today we will be strictly going on the past. It's called God's Hand or the Most High's Hand. And this will be titled Close in Heart, Distant by Religion. Okay. Close in heart, distant by religion. And you may wonder why I say that. You see, Iran is predominantly Shia Muslims, and I want to bring you into a little bit of history, showing you that it wasn't always Islamic. Okay. The next portion that we'll get on after this lesson is called the present. It's called, and that will probably be the biggest portion of this lesson. It's called Mystery Babylon, the people of the book in Iran. Okay. Now, anyone who's ever read the Quran, you understand that the people of the book are the Jews or the Israelites. It says that several times in the Quran. And for that lesson, I'm actually going to use the Quran to show you that you're supposed to be following the Bible. It literally says it. And then, future, the judgment and God's wrath. Okay. Now, I'm going to say this. If you are new to the Bible or just wanting to seek out information, please do not leave the lesson without gathering all information. Okay, I ask you, do not, because you're going to maybe have a incomplete understanding of the Iranians today, which make up about three different types of people, regardless of them having different, sects and different groups of people, the Kurds and different groups. Okay, but they make up three different types of people, according to that country, Iran, that we see on a map today. But please do not start the lesson without finishing because you will not be disappointed. Also, because I have been blocked, or should I say blocked and striked and under YouTube probation, I'm going to do this video a bit different, and I apologize to all those viewers who are not able to participate in this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the videos. There's some gruesome videos. I'm going to share some videos throughout this entire series. You're going to hear me say fair use, and then you're going to hear me say skipped. Okay. And what that means is if I deemed it as something that YouTube would take it off, I took it off of the YouTube lessons and kept it on the Rumble or the BitChute or the Odyssey lesson. Okay. Or you could just email me and I'll put my email at the bottom, four corners at protonmail.ch or four corners at proton.me. And you can email me and I will give you the link. Everything is free always. I will give you the link to the unedited version. Okay. So, with that being said, like I said, why is it all of a sudden everyone cares about Iranians? All of a sudden, over a woman, and it's no disrespect to whomever that individual is. We don't know who that is, right? But why is it all of a sudden, the world shifts focus on Iran? If I was an Iranian I would be scared because all of a sudden we went from being sanctioned, we went from, food scarcity and different things, and then all of a sudden now the focus is on us everywhere we turn. You notice how you don't hear much about Ukraine anymore, right? Now the focus, you don't hear nothing about Afghanistan anymore. You don't hear nothing about Taiwan anymore, right? Why is the focus on Iran? Okay, so check this out. Here's what I'm gonna do. Now, like I said, I apologize because y'all not gonna get this, okay, if you're on YouTube. Now, this was 7 months ago, okay? This was in Turkey. An Iranian man beheads his 17-year-old wife in a honor killing. Okay, Iranian man. The female is Iranian. The entire family is an Iranian. Now, I'm not going to show you the, well, actually, you know what? I will. I'll just skip it. Okay, I will show you the man. I'm also going to show you the video. All right, because I didn't want to show the picture because I may be like, oh, okay. In another case, it says, an honor killing in Iran, an unarmed young man has beheaded his 17-year-old wife, Mona Haidari, and displayed her head around the streets. The murder happened in the southwestern city of Avaz on Saturday when the young wife was brought back from Turkey, where she had traveled for unknown reasons. Her father helped the husband, who is his nephew, to bring the woman back to the country. The husband and his brother, who apparently committed the murder together, have been arrested. Iran's media watchdog responded quickly and banned Raqna news agency that first released the footage of the killer carrying his wife's head. Now, here, this picture, skip, I will skip this. Here is the man. There is no head, there's no weapon there, but I'm going to share with you the video. Now, fair use and skip. So you're going to see me skip this for YouTube viewers.
Now, before we get into this next story, a warning: it is extremely graphic. Gruesome footage has emerged of this Iranian man smiling as he walks along the street, clutching the severed head of his 17-year-old wife, who is also his cousin.
Now, you mean to tell me you burning down everything? You're burning down mosques. You're doing everything in the book to bring light to your country, right? Supposedly. But you mean this man can kill his cousin who was forced to marry him and you do nothing? Is there not something wrong with this picture? Is there not something wrong with this? I'm going to play the video. Is there not something wrong with this? Is there not something wrong with this? Or what's happening here? Because in the video with the young lady who they say, died of a coma and trauma in the police station from the morality police. who they're riding over, she was taken by the police. And the morality police, they usually say, educate you, maybe give you some punishment and have you go. Sometimes maybe you pay a fine, whatever. But this here is no judicial system, right? Morality police would have been some type of judicial system. Even though, and like I said, I am not condoning anything they do. Okay. What I am saying is, how come there is a worldwide uproar over a woman having her hijab halfway on her head, and this young lady, teenager, her head was beheaded and nothing? Is that is that not something wrong there? It looks like Satan is playing a fiddle here. Look at this, but this is more important. Like that young lady, that teenager's life is very, it's very important, but she's not getting any recognition as to what happened to her, right? Now, you see clearly in the video that for the other young lady who is they're riding over, she passes out, she collapses when she's approached. That's clear as day. Okay. Now, what happened behind doors? Hey, you know, only the Most High knows. But what we can see, if it was not edited, is that she completely collapsed. She collapsed. This person, their head was severed, and she ran from this forced marriage and she was beheaded. She ran. So, where is the outcry saying, free the women and let's stop, forced marriages. Let's stop, child marriages. Happens in Afghanistan, happens in Iraq, happens in Syria, happens in Iran, happens in Saudi Arabia, happens even in Africa, happens in Malaysia. Where's the outcry? Where's the outroar about that? Right? Hey, I'm just telling you, brothers and sisters, be careful, right? Or what about this? Here, let's show you all another video. See if I can find it. Let's see. What about this? Now, fair use skip. I am not showing this video to YouTube. What about this?
This was justice in Iran in 1992.
Now, 1992. This was 30 years ago. Right? What happened then?
To opposition groups, it continues today. Man being flogged was found guilty of stealing and cheating on his wife. According to the National Iranian...
Now, I'm not condoning stealing and cheating and committing adultery. The Bible is clearly against it. We are against it. But what happened to the outcry about this?
Resistance group. The video was smuggled out of the country by the People's Mujahideen. The video also shows how two other men sentenced for unknown crimes to death by stoning.
Look how they do it.
They're wrapped in sheets and half buried so they cannot run away from the frenzied crowd. The National Resistance Group claims the video was shot in a military compound in the northern suburbs of Tehran. Horrific images were shown for the first
Where's the outcry?
press conference in Germany, where resistance workers called on the international community to take action.
Every day, Iranian people have been tortured and executed by this regime, and you know that about 100,000 people have been executed.
Resistance workers say they released the video as a warning to the world that without intervention, such brutal punishments will continue to be carried out.
What happened to the outcry? Or wait a second, Minister Yashab, I got it all for y'all. How come no one was showing Persians like this? I don't see, this is months ago. I don't see them outcrying now. This is about no vaccines. I don't see them opposing anything there. What happened? All I'm saying, brothers and sisters, is they are not sharing the full stories. And do not get suckered because you think that something happened and you were not there. Don't get swung in by emotions. Because remember, if you listen to me for a while, you know I said the devil is playing for keeps. It's not a fair game. The Most High wants our soul, and so does Satan. But who are you going to let win? It's all who you serve. It's all who you obey. It's all who you listen to, right? One moment looking for. Well, what about, and then this is what we see, right? This is what we see in Iran. They say in all the cities they're from,
شخصیت آدم تولید میکنه چرا تو حق انتخاب آدم دخالت میکنه خب برنامه‌ریزی چرا به قانون بند نباید احترام گذاشت آزادی انسانیت آدم زیر انسانیت آدم کثافت به چرا چی نداره به چرا چی نداره همه چی میزنی همه چی
She said, hope for the day when we women will no longer have to fight for our basic rights.
تمام کسایی که برای صلح، آزادی و برابری و کرامت انسانی فعالیت میکنن رو دستگیر کنید. آقای خامنه‌ای من مطمئنم که تمام زنان دنیا
She said, I'm sure that the women of the world are proud of Iranian women's fight for equality.
افتخار میکنند به خاطر مقاومتشون، شجاعتشون و پایداریشون. سپس به همه شما مبارک.
Now, they seem to be going around quite normally, right? I mean, a few backlash, right? But they seem to be going around quite normally, and 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 they're making the point about women's equality, okay? And this is no disrespect to women, but let's take it back to Genesis. Genesis chapter 3. And see, this is why if you don't have no knowledge, well, you're a dead person walking because you're going to end up believing anything. So, from chapter 3, verse 14 and 15, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. I will put enmity between thee and the woman. So, ladies, women of the world who are falling under this emotional spell, do understand enmity between thee, which is a serpent, and Satan is hatred. Satan does not love you. He doesn't like you. He wants you to be against the Most High. Okay. Now, I would love, if any Persians out there listening to my video, I would love to know what type of equality that the Persian, excuse me, the Iranian women are seeking, because there's so many more things that are happening in Iran that is not being brought to light. What about the contract marriages? What about that? What about the forced marriages? What about that? Right? I mean, what about the laws about not doing certain things, right? The restrictions. What about those things? But we're talking about we're we're doing atrocities over a head covering. Now, like I said, hey, I understand the nation is oppressive, totally understand. When I was trying to get into Iran years ago, I was at the embassy and they was dogging me. They was dogging me. All right. They wanted me to go to a cleric. They wanted me to go to an Islamic class and all this. This was at their embassy. And I was like, I just want to go to your country. I ain't got no problems. But they were like, well, you were a soldier before. We don't trust you. I understand the country, has some tough spots. I understand. Okay. Um, and part two, we're gonna go into the Shah and we're gonna go into those regimes that was set up by the US. We can go into that. But right now, I want you to understand, ladies, because it started off and remember it was with what? And I'm showing you how Satan doesn't care. Remember, it all started from what we know is what they put on TV. Oh, let's save the girls. Remember when Obama was was in office, right? And Michelle, and they were like, "Me too. Save the girls in Nigeria." And things only got worse for them. What happened? What happened? Okay. And look at the region now. It's all broken from a group that they created. They're not going to show a problem that they don't have a solution to. Remember that. Okay? The Most High works solutions, and so does Satan. But Satan is a deceiver. You have to understand the game. He's playing a game. And as long as you are enticed into it, he will play with you as long as he can. Ladies, I'm going to say this again. Satan hates you. The women in India who are gang raped and burned, they speak nothing on them. The Rohingyas, they speak nothing on them, right? But the only time you hear them talk about women's equality is abortion, right? Planned Parenthood. Is that the equality they're seeking? Because you're just going to become no different from the sinful individuals in the West. Right? I'm gonna sit there and say, you want the freedom to kill? No, the problem isn't the hijab. And no, I'm not advocating Islam. No, whatsoever, not whatsoever. We stand with the Bible only. The problem isn't the hijab. The problem is the religion. You're in a religion of Satan. That's it. That's it. That's what it is. Because where does a hijab lead to this? Now, fair use, skip. I'm sorry. Once again, not playing this. How do you go from protesting to a hijab to this? To lighting people on fire? This is not about a hijab. This is not about a hijab. This is not about a hijab. Women, you're being used. You're being used by the greatest deceiver. This has nothing, I mean, nothing to do with a hijab. And I'm going to show you all throughout this lesson because this is where this is going, you wouldn't imagine. Fair use.
I don't think I've ever covered a more difficult story in my 20 years as a journalist. The first reaction was complete and utter shock and disbelief that this would happen in 2022. And what transpired afterwards was just a whirlwind of emotion, not just for me, but for many women that I spoke to in Tehran, ordinary women that I was meeting and talking to. They start crying and telling me that they don't know what else to do but cry out of anger. That was the first reaction most of the women I knew had to her death. I'm Dorsa Jabari, correspondent for Al Jazeera, and between us, all women in Iran feel like being like Mahsa.
Now, remember, I showed you the young lady, the young teenager who was forced into marriage. Why don't they feel like her? You see what's happening here? We're steering the minds to be deceived. I'm crying deep down inside because when I see them burning things down, burning people alive over a head cover, over what some will call modesty. See, this is what this is about. It's about and I'm not advocating for Islam at all. Okay? But this is about modesty. The Bible even promotes modesty for men and women. Because if this was about life, they would also put that young girl's story nation worldwide. So this has nothing to do with preserving life or seeing that you as a woman get equality. This is about tearing you down morally to drop your guard spiritually. That's what it's about.
Mahsa Amini was a 22-year-old girl who was visiting the capital, Tehran, with her family, and on September 13th, she was exiting a metro station in the center of the city with her brother at the time. She was confronted by the so-called morality police for being allegedly dressed inappropriately. So she was taken to a police station for what the authorities called so-called re-education.
Now look at the video.
Mandatory in Iran.
Now look at the video. The female morality police lifts up her hijab because it's a long one, okay? Has an exchange with her.
Authorities called so-called re-education of why the hijab is mandatory.
She's pointing as if she's upset or pointing something out. She puts her hand on her head.
Usually these re-education classes last about 1 hour, but that was not the case for Mahsa.
And then she falls over. And then the morality police goes to check up on her. Like I said, I'm not condoning for the morality police, but I'm looking clearly at this video.
The authorities
That's all we know.
Suffered a heart attack and she was taken to a hospital nearby where she was in a coma, and then she had another heart attack and died. Her family are saying a very different story, that she had suffered abuse at the hands of the police when she was in their custody. The protests really started about 48 hours after she was pronounced dead.
Now, burning trash cans. And please take note, that's a woman burning the trash can. What is happening here?
48 hours after she was pronounced dead. I think one of the reasons that we've seen such a reaction from women inside Iran as well as outside is because this issue of mandatory hijab has always been a hot topic. There is this tremendous amount of anger from women because we all have been through this experience of what it's like in Iran. When you're leaving your home, you could be stopped at any time, anywhere in the city, from someone from the morality police who might deem you to be dressed inappropriately. Basically, we all feel that any of us could be Mahsa. There was a connection we all had to Mahsa that was felt quite deeply across Iran. The morality police are in charge of enforcing the mandatory hijab, that is the rule in Iran. As soon as you arrive in the country, whether you're a local or a foreigner, Muslim or another religion,
that's correct.
You are required to be dressed a certain way. Different parts of Tehran, at least, are more strict about hijab. The more official places you go to, like government offices, they're more inclined to abide by the mandatory hijab. But I think this latest incident highlights the fact that no matter where you are or who you are, you're always at risk of a confrontation with the morality police. This particular case, and
look at that, burning police cars. Come on now. This don't look familiar. I've been in Arabic and Islamic all countries. I'm just like, what? What is this? This looked like a scene straight out of Babylon. It looked like a scene straight out of Europe or South America. It looked like something's not right here.
We've seen over a dozen cities where people have come out to protest.
I mean, of all the things, Why you not protesting over being sanctioned or inflation, right? In some places in Iran, we gotta give it to them. They have made their voices known about inflation, just like everyone else. But why is this particular thing? There's a food shortage in Iran. There's a lighting shortage in Iran, right? There's a rice shortage in Iran. Why about the hijab?
Although the numbers are fairly small, but even those small numbers are significant because we know that they risk being arrested and detained for just coming out and protesting. That is the reason that we've seen a number of crackdowns taking place. These demonstrations have illustrated that there is a desire, there's a social interest in expanding women's rights in the country. The women that we've seen burning their hijab, women that we're seeing cutting off their hair.
Now, I'm going to get into this another time because I want to share that cutting off of hair is a ritual. It is a ritual. And by you cutting off your hair, you are initiating yourself into this ritual. Ooh, my. They better understand Satan don't love you. He, Satan can't destroy anyone on this earth. Well, let's make that clear. He does not have the power over life. Satan only has the power to influence. And as long as he can influence you to do something, then the wages of sin equals death. Which means what? Once again, he can only influence you to join in something. You will be the one held accountable for doing the action. That's how we all are judged. We are judged on our actions. So if you're doing an initiation unknowingly, you better repent. That's all I'm going to say.
In reaction to what is taking place with Mahsa and the restrictions around their daily lives. There is a need for dialogue to revisit the issue of women's rights in Iran, certainly now more than ever.
And you know how I know it's a ritual? Where my followers from India, what do they do with their hair in the temples? They cut their hair off, they offer it to idols, and then they package it up and send it to Jamaica and the US, right? That's why I tell all the women, hey, leave all that fake hair stuff alone. You putting in hair offered to idols. If you don't believe me, go ahead and look it up. You got extensions and all that stuff going on in your hair. It's offered to gods. You are now a heathen. You are now serving a foreign god. Hey, leave that alone. Now you see where that is, right? How come they not showing, and this is my last video before we get into the scriptures for now. Why are they not sharing this video? Take your Islam and go. It seems like the father has a lot more sense than the protesters, because this is what he said. Now look at all these Iranians, Muslims, no, going to pray over this young lady's body. Wait a minute. They didn't share that with you over the news, did they? No. And look what's happening. Thousands of people. Her father in the white here. Okay. Now, Why don't we drag religion into this? Because if the father refused to allow her dead body to have Islamic prayers, that means she wasn't Muslim. Correct? Because why would, is what Christ said. How could a house divided stand, right? If the house was together, he would not be arguing about Islamic prayers, right? You see, like people in Syria and Iraq, they were killed, years ago, and even till this day through ISIS and ISIL, right? They were Islamic, but when their people died, they still did Islamic prayers, right? They still buried them in Islam. So why are they not sharing everything? Why are they not saying that these people were not Muslims? Why are they not saying that she was targeted maybe because of religion and not because over a hijab? You notice how anything that has to do with Christian persecution, the West, America, Europe, Australia, no one wants to say it. Notice that? Hey, and they tell you, and over there in Babylon, they say freedom of religion. They say in every country just about, hey, you got the choice to serve as you wish. But why refuse something if you follow that, right? Moving forward. Now look what he said. Your Islam denounced her. Once again, we talk about possession. Your Islam, which means he's not a Muslim. Okay. And it said, now you come to pray over her. You killed her for 2 strands of hair. That's what he said. Yes, it's ridiculous. If hey, the world news has a tendency of showing some corrupt people and making them look innocent. So we don't know everything, but we do know what this father is saying. He's saying, "Hey, this ain't what I want, right? This is not what I want for my daughter. Not only did I not want her dead, but I don't want your Islamic prayers, right?" But what, brothers and sisters, you may say, what does this have to do with God's hand? I'm going to show you because all of this, you're going to wonder, how did we get from in the Bible to this now? It's going to go in segue in the series. Don't worry. Now, the fact is that this woman, this young lady here, she was of the Kurdish people. Now, some Kurds can go into different regions. They also have their own region. They also are in Syria, in different parts of Iraq, in different places in the Middle East. Okay. Sometimes they're not known to be Islam, sometimes they are. But we can clearly see that what? We can clearly see that the Father did not want that, right? So that should say something. Know them by their fruits, right? Know them by their actions. So you may say, Minister Yeshua, how do we get from there to close in heart, distant by religion? Okay, first things first, let's get into these scriptures. This one is called close in heart, distant by religion. Now you're going to need to know a few things here. All right, and we're going to start with Genesis chapter 10. What you see here also in parentheses, First Chronicles chapter 1, 1 through 17. That's just a precept I will not be reading, but I want to share with you. Okay, so let me pull this down. Just keep that in remembrance. And 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 I'm going to open up this book. Okay, now sharing the book with you. It's called the Holman Bible Atlas. All right. That I know of, it's not on PDF, so I took pictures of it. Want to share with y'all. The Holman Bible Atlas. And then here's the back. Okay. That is an atlas. Okay. Full of maps and history. So, since we're reading Genesis chapter 10, I'm going to take you to Genesis chapter 10. Okay. So, Genesis chapter 10, verse 1 through 25 reads, Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Taras. And the sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, and Rephath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Donadim, or Danim, excuse me. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided into their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families, and in their nation. So first, now you already know Ashkenaz is what? Ashkenazi. Okay, that's as clear as day. Ashkenaz Jews are Japhetic. They are not Semitic. Second, we know Magog, what people know as Russia. Okay, but the most important here is Madai. And Madai, or Madai, is what? Mayday stands for what? Media or Medes or Media, which means middle land. A people descended from the son of Japheth who inhabited the territory of Media. Okay. It says land inhabited by the descendants of Japheth, located northwest of Persia proper, south and southwest of the Caspian Sea, east of Armenia and Assyria, and west and northwest of the Great Salt Desert of Iran. Okay. So let's see what you get. Madai, Hebrew Mayday, third son of Japheth, also Mede, comes from Medes, media. What does media mean? The same Hebrew word is used in the Old Testament as the name of a son of Japheth, of a nation which he founded and of their country. Okay. I'm getting to it for you. Don't worry. Now you go into Medes. You hear media coming from Mayday. Okay. Follow me. That's what it's very important to know these names. I don't want to share that just yet. Okay. Medes, Madhi, Assyrian, Amada, Mada, Persian. So, Mayday, Medes, media are Persians. Okay. They're Persians. See that? Mayday, country of Central Asia, the Medes, the Persians. So the first started off with saying Persians are not Semitic people. Okay. They are Japhetic people. And you're going to understand this. And also, I want to point out Kittim. Tarshish is Spain. Kittim is the Romans. Okay. See if I can get that for y'all. The Greeks or Romans. Kittim. All right. It's important to understand. It's a very important. I know in the Christian church, a lot of people, or even any congregation in churches, a lot of people could care less about, denominations, right? Why is it that everyone wants to claim that people in Israel are Israel or Hebrews, but they don't want to acknowledge who the rest of the people are in the world, right? Is it because they just want you to think that you have no value? No, I mean, if you understand the Bible, you understand that certain nations are tied to prophecy. So therefore, you should know, right? Moving forward, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. Also, for a little fun fact, okay, if you understood the Bible as well, you see in Acts it talks about Parthians, Medes, and Elamites. These are the three nations that make up Iran today. Okay? Don't care outside of all the tribes, there are three different people: Parthians, Medes, and Elamites. So, Medes, we showed you, Persians, Parthians, northwest, that's going into the Armenian region, which is also what? The Kurds. The same thing that this female was, by the way. And the Elamites. Okay. Let me show you that. Elam, or Elamites. But hold on. We're going to read it. And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mitzrayim and Put and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba and Havilah and Sabta and Ramah and Sabbetekah. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba and Adon. And Cush begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, and this word before means against, by the way. Means against. See that? It means against. So he was a mighty. He was a mighty hunter against the Most High. It was never for the Most High. Okay. In the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Also remember Shinar. We know Shinar is southern Iraq. Okay. Out of the land, well, I like to share, especially if we have new viewers, right? Babylonia or Chaldea. A lot of groups sit there and say that Chaldea or Chaldeans are Europeans. They are not. Okay. Southern portion of Babylonia running into the Euphrates. Today, that would be southern Iraq, Kuwait. All right. For those of you who don't know what Kuwait is, it's that little piece of land right into the Persian Gulf. Okay, before you get, so it's like they broke it up. Okay, if you go all the way down to the map, you see Iraq, you see Iran, and then you see Kuwait at the bottom of that little Persian Gulf area just beginning. But Kuwait is a part of Iraq. It is Chaldeans. They are also Chaldeans, right? Out of that land went forth Ashur and built Nineveh and the city Rehoboth and Calah. Now, Nineveh, modern day Nineveh today, is what? Capital of Assyria. So known as what? Syria. Or in parts, it was actually broken off to Syria and Iraq. But today, modern day Nineveh is Mosul, okay, or Mosul. What they in I think that's Iraq. Yes, northern Iraq, where ISIS had stopped the dam. Okay, they cut off the dam. A lot of people don't even know that. They're sitting there looking up, oh, ISIS so bad. So look, but they not realizing what prophecies they are doing by shutting off the water. That's why you see all the water dried in the Euphrates. That's why you see it. Okay, moving forward. And Resen between Nineveh and Calah, the same is a great city. And Mitzrayim begat Ludim and Ain, Namim, and Lehebim, and Neptuhim, and Patrasim, and Caluhim, or Casaluhim, out of whom came Philistines, and Caphtorim. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite. Oh my goodness, it's gonna cost so much. Hevel. The Sinite. Let's get into it. A tribe of Canaanites. Now they said this was a northern part of Lebanon. Okay. Now, your history will tell you something very interesting. Now, let me see if I can find it here. I don't know if they don't let me. One moment, let me see it. Let me see if I can get it real quick. because it's in the let me see. All right. There was at one point. The inhabitants of Asia. Okay. But they go into Malay and different places. The following tribes of different language and origin may be distinguished, and it goes through all of them, right? Now, look what it says: Persians, Afghans. It also says what? Chinese. Okay. Okay. I mean, if you, let me see if I can find it. I'm trying to get it. Yes. Okay. Synonym. Now, I have done much research on this, and Sinite comes from synonym. Synonym would be, according to different studies, it would be Sinai became independent Western China. Oh, okay. Now, the I won't get too much into it, but just understand that Satan has deceived many, many people into thinking there's something and they're not. Okay. Clearly, it said, the Most High said, the children of Japheth are inhabitants of or inheritors of islands. Okay. Isles of the Gentiles, right? And isles can sometimes mean lands. Most likely they're surrounded by those islands. Okay, moving forward. But yes, that has gone back to be the children of what we would call China. And the Arvadite and the Zemarite and the Hamathite, and afterward their families of the Canaanites spread abroad, and the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, and as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Adamah and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. These are the sons of Ham after their fathers, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Okay. So the children of Ham did not get any islands. They received lands. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born, the children of Shem, but Elam. So this is very important because the first child of Shem is Elam. And what I showed you, what? Elam or Elamites are what? They were coming from Babylonian captivity and they resided in a certain nation. Okay. Elamites were what? Described among the nations of the Persian Empire. The capital of Elam was Shashun, and we will go through that as well. So, if you think that all Iranians are the same, you're looking at what? You're looking at two different people, Madai, Mayday, Persia or Persis, according to Greek. And then you're looking at Elam, which is Shem. They're not the same people. Okay. And Ashur and Arphaxad and Lud and Aram. That goes back to Syria, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Okay. Later version Syria. So even Syrians are the children of Shem. All right. I love teaching people because then they understand. And understanding is key, especially in these times. And the children of Aram, Uz. Now, where was Abraham born? The land of Uz, right? He came from the land of Uz. All right. Now, we'll just leave that there. And Hul and Gether and Mash and Arphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. That Eber goes back to a lot of people would say the progenitor of Hebrews. Okay. All right. Heber or Eber. Okay. Now, here's a nice map. Excuse me. So, according to scripture, you have in like the orangish kind of color, Japheth. Japheth goes all the way into Europe. Okay. Tarshish, Italy, going into Spain, and so forth. Ashkenaz, right there. Okay. This would be your Iran here, going into your, actually, Turkey would be somewhat here. This would be going up Ashkenaz, the Caucasus Mountains, Romania, um, Armenia. All right. And then we have the children of Shem. All right. The children of Shem. Now, please take a look and notice where Elam is. Where you see that is, I know a lot of people, it bothers me to death. A lot of people say that Elam is India. Okay, if you're one of those people, can you please show artifacts that says Elam is India? Because I haven't seen it once. And whenever I try and help these people understand, they're just so hard-headed, right? Okay. But anywho, Elam and the Middle East. Now, what you're seeing here is this little corner of Arabia, and you see Sheba. Now, during the time of Sheba ruling Ethiopia, she actually ruled quite a lot of this region, and she ruled a portion all the way down, and Sabta and Sheba. Okay. The Yemeni portion was considered Hamitic. A lot, if you go to Yemen, a lot of the people, they have a lot of Ethiopians there going back and forth from Yemen and Ethiopia. It's one and the same. Different atmosphere, so to speak, but and a lot very hot. Very hot. But A lot of Ethiopians reside there. That is also a part of their land biblically. Okay. And then let me this. Now we'll move forward. All right, next scripture. So, Second Ezra. We're going to zoom through a few of these. Second Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. Make this a bit smaller. All right. Second Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. It reads, the second book of the prophet Ezra, or Ezra, the son of Sirius, the son of Azrias, the son of Helkias, the son of Sadamias, the son of Zadok. This is also Zadok, by the way. Zadok is Zadok. It's Zadok. And the son of Aktob, the son of Achias, the son of Phineas, the son of Heli, the son of Amarias, the son of Azai, the son of Meremoth, the son of And. He spake unto thee, the Borith, the son of Absai, the son of Phineas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, of the tribe of Levi, which was captive in the land of the Medes in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of the Persians. So first, a lot of people don't understand. We sit there and talk about Hebrew culture. Most of the prophets were captive in the land of Iran. Let's make that very clear. I love Iranian people. Some of them that I've met are nice. I had a supervisor back in my day, nicest person I've ever met. Like, I kid you not, and I even speak about them till this day. Like, they're the nicest person I've ever met. Okay, usually it's foreigners who are the nicest people, and when I say foreigners, I mean like people who are not native to the land I was born in, which is Babylon. Even though I may be in their country, I say, hey, these are the nicest people. Like, come, sit, eat, drink tea, let's chat. How you like my country? Is anything bothering you? Let me know. Like, how's your family? Anything I could do for your family? Like, the people were nice. The people are always nice, at least to me. Of course, because we serve the Most High and do what's right. Right. So Ezra, Second Ezra, and Ezra in the original Old Testament was captive in the land of the Medes. Now, here's something that many people don't know. Artaxerxes, the name for Artaxerxes is what? It's Xerxes. Okay. This is a Greek name, Artaxerxes. Okay. That's still Xerxes. Let me see if I can get that. See, a king, Artaxerxes, and you're going to see Asherus. This is also another name. Asherus, please keep in mind, Asherus is Xerxes. Okay. Asherus is Xerxes. So you'll see this when we hit the book of Esther. You're going to see Asherus, then it'll go back to Artaxerxes, then it'll go back to Xerxes. They are all the same people unless it's his son, okay? Because he did have a son who was under rule as well after him, and then he lost the battle to the Greeks. But moving forward. So Second Ezra, you see, of the tribe of Levi, Ezra was residing in Iran. Okay. Now, the reason I'm doing this, and I said close and heart, distant by religion, because a lot of the children of Israel's captivity was based off of Iran. That's why I have so much love for Iran. Being child of Israel, that's why I have so much love for them. Because when we were captive in different places, the Most High used the Persians or in the land of the Medes, he used them to set the children of Israel free a lot of the times. In fact, all the time. Okay. Next, Second Ezra, or excuse me, Ezra, chapter 2. So regular Old Testament, Ezra chapter 2, 1 through 7. Read, now these are the children of the province that went that went up out of the captivity of those which had been carried away, okay, whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon had carried away unto Babylon, and came again unto Jerusalem and Judah, everyone into his city. So there was a captivity. The captivity was what? Nebuchadnezzar. All right. He took captive the children of Israel in Iraq. How did the children of Israel get to return? Well, how is Ezra able to tell this story if he's not free, if he's not in safety, right? He's in the captive lands of what? Persia, correct? That's what we just read. Okay. It says, which came with Zerubbabel. Now remember this name, because you're going to see this in my book soon that I'm going to share. Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, and that's the prophet Nehemiah. Okay, so Nehemiah, a lot of the prophets in the Bible are coming from Iraq and Persia. Very important to know. Sarai, Reliah, Mordecai. That's your Mordecai from Esther. Okay. Belshan, Mesphar, Bagavi, Rahun, Bana, the number of men of the people of Israel, the children of Parash, 2,172. The children of Shephatiah, 372. Children of Arah, 775. Children of Pathamoab. Of the children of Jeshua and Joab, 2,812. And the children of Elam, 1,254. Now, that's where I'm going to stop, because the main point is Elam. Once the children of Elam they went up out of the captivity of Babylon that they served, that they were released from Xerxes, they went back into their home region. Where is their home region? Well, you remember, their home region is right there. Elam. Elam, right there. It's another map as well. The original one, Elam, right there. So they were serving in this region. If you look at these little funny square here, this region would be Babylon. Babylon, Shinar, all of this region. Okay? And they went and left back to Elam, their origination. Okay? Now, so we have one son of who? We have one son of the children of Israel, Ezra, who was from the tribe of Levi, who was clear stated that he was in the land of the Persians, right? Let's see. Who else? Go into the book of Tobit. Book of Tobit, chapter 1. Book of Tobit, chapter 1, verse 1 through 6 reads, the book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, the son of Ananiel, the son of Adul, the son of Gabiel, of the seed of Asael, of the tribe of Naphtali, who in the time of En-Messer, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thebes, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee above Asir or Asher. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the ways of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. So now we see that Tobit, who was of the tribe of Naphtali, he resided in Nineveh. Nineveh, modern day, if you Google it and do your research, type in modern day Nineveh, it's Mosul, it's Iraq. So all those people there, they're not necessarily, just regular children of Shem. They are also children of Israel. And when I was in my own country, in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages. Okay. Now all the tribes which gathered together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal. So this is why Tobit left the children of Israel. They weren't following correctly. If you watched or listened to my persecution lesson, I went over the breakdown of what? The apostles, what an apostle is, what a prophet is, and what a teacher is. They have a separate order from being in a church. You're not going to sit there if you see Peter today and say, hey, brother, why aren't you a part of my church? Peter's going to look at you like you're stupid because he's a disciple. He's set apart. An apostle is set apart. It means he has a higher calling than people inside of a church, right? He'd look at you like you're crazy. But you see Tobit receive that honor to say, you know what? I'm going to separate from my people. The Most High allowed it. Okay. And he left into a different country. A lot of people sit there and say, oh, no. The children of Israel is in just one place. No. I mean, why would you be amongst people who do not serve the Most High? They're sacrificing to Satan. Baal is Satan, right? Verse 6, but I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenth of increase, which with that which was first shorn, in them gave I at the altar to the priests of the children of Aaron. So he still went back on the holy days, okay, for those who did celebrate properly. But he said, as a whole, I can't be around this atmosphere. We know how the Most High deals. We saw the children of Israel amongst Moses, and the Most High killed thousands of the children of Israel for not following him properly. He was in more fear of the Most High than he was the people, right? Because the people have been like, oh, you want to be amongst the Gentiles? You want to be amongst this? You don't love your people? Somewhat like we see with Israel today, right? I don't want to be around that. If you gang banging and shooting and all, I don't want to be around that. I want to be around people who will either serve the Most High with me or leave me alone while I serve the Most High, right? Let me serve the Most High in peace. Shouldn't have to worry about my own people wanting to hurt me, but that's what it is, right? Even the prophets had this issue. Tobit 13. Tobit 13. Now we're going to Hit this entire chapter, by the way. Tobit 13, verse 1. Reads, Then Tobit wrote a prayer of rejoicing and said, Blessed be God that liveth forever, and blessed be his kingdom. For he doeth scourge and have mercy. He leadeth down to hell and bringeth up again. Neither is there any that can avoid his hand. Confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. For he had scattered us among them. For he had scattered us among them. Why is Tobit saying that? Here's a precept, first precept, Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Reads, And the Lord shall scatter thee, he's talking to the children of Israel, among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And that stone is the Kaaba. That's what it is. Chapter 32 and 26. The Most High said, I would scatter them into corners and would make the remembrance of them cease from among men. I mean, this is so true, because when you do research, where my Afghani brothers and sisters, who's buried in Afghanistan? Tell the people that they went to Afghanistan to dig up the grave site of Lamech. Y'all remember Lamech, right? Started human trafficking, started the sorcery. He started conjuring some Jaja. Oh yeah, they made a shrine for Lamech in Afghanistan. And yeah, that though, he scattered. He'll make you of no remembrance if you do evil. And think about it, right? The people in Afghanistan have a shrine and a tomb for Lamech, the most evil person before the flood. Okay. Yet they honor him as if he's godly. That's called bringing someone of no remembrance. I mean, they have no idea that they have the most evil person, the one who truly really started most of all of this with the witchcraft, and he's the one who started the multiple wives. He's the one who started the human trafficking. Go ahead and look, research deeply. He started all this. Yes, Cain killed his brother for his wife and because he was jealous, but he soon left, right? But it was Lamech who conjured some Jaza. He wanted some Jaza as in his mind. He hated the Most High, unfortunately. So this is why it says in Tobit 13 and 3, confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them. Most High will scatter you if you are unrighteous. He scattered us, okay? He scattered us. So what is it our job? And a lot of children of Israel, they hate, I don't know what it is. They hate Gentiles. I don't understand, right? We the children of Israel are supposed to be kings and queens, and we're supposed to be upholding the standard, teaching people about the Most High. And he says, confess the Gentiles, confess the Most High to him. You know what that means? It means to acknowledge, to own our faults, to confess, to own up, to say, we are in this position not because of you as Gentiles. We are in this position because us. as the Most High's chosen, have decided to not serve him. You see what Tobit said? They were sacrificing to Baal. Okay. I mean, if we want to get clear into it, come on, my brothers and sisters, my Persian brothers and sisters. They got temples in Iran. What's the religion called? Zoroastrian, right? They got fire temples. They worship fire. Okay, like go on. Fire is known as Satan. What did they do with Baal, who was the golden calf, also known as Yahweh? A lot of people don't know that either. But what do they do with that? They sacrifice people inside of it. The bull, the calf. Okay. And you wonder why they use the bull as the Wall Street symbol and the money symbol, right? The bull on the market, the bull on the street. And the bull is known for sacrifice. Just like here, the market is bullish. They're going to sacrifice the market. They're going to sacrifice people, all your savings, everything. But understand, this is what the children of Israel, this is our obligation to confess everything to the people around us, those that want to hear, and those that may be lost. Like, for example, with this whole situation in Iran, they are lost. They don't understand. And this is clearly, I've heard people say on news clips, they said this is clearly generation against generation in Iran. I don't know how they did it, but they've turned generation against generation. The elderly is like, what are y'all doing? And the young people is like, we just gonna trash this place. The same people who don't have no job, the same people who can't get a job, the same people who don't seem to be educating themselves. And if you in Iran, you know exactly what I'm talking about because I think it's like what 70% of women have most of the jobs and only 30% of them work men of work, somewhere around there. But yet they sitting there saying they don't have equality. Right? So something's wrong with this picture. We, as the children of Israel, are supposed to what? Confess the Most High, tell them to come back and show them the light and let them know, hey, you are about to be destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Okay. Verse 4, there, declare his greatness and extol him before all the living, for he is our Lord, and he is the God, our Father, forever. And he will scourge us for our iniquities, and will have mercy again, and will gather us out of all nations, out of all nations, out of all nations, out of all nations among whom he hath scattered us. And I want you to highlight this because I got some stuff for y'all. Verse 5, I want y'all to start that one. And if ye turn to him with your whole heart and with your whole mind and deal uprightly before him, then he will turn unto you and will not hide his face from you. Therefore see what he will do with you, and confess him with your whole mouth, and praise the Lord of might, and extol the everlasting King. And the land of my captivity do I praise him, and declare his might and majesty to a sinful nation. So you got to stand firm amongst the sinful nation. O ye sinners, turn and do justice before him. Who can tell if he will accept you and have mercy on you? So it's Most High saying, I'm not, or Tobit's saying, I'm not the judge, right? He's saying, who could tell if the Most High will accept you? Just go and apologize. Just go and show him different behaviors, right? If you in Islam, hey, just go and apologize and drop that idolatry, drop that pagan god, because that ain't the answer. Okay, that is not the answer. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. For anyone, it's not the answer. Okay. Verse 7, I will extol my God, and my soul shall praise the King of heaven, and shall rejoice in his greatness. And let all men speak, and let all praise him for his righteousness. O Jerusalem, the holy city, he will scourge thee for thy children's works, and have mercy again on the sons of the righteous. Give praise to the Lord, for he is good, and praise the everlasting King, that his tabernacle may be builded in thee again with joy, and let him make joyful there in thee those that are captives, and love in thee forever those that are miserable. Many nations shall come from far to the name of the Lord God with gifts in their hands. This is also in the minor prophets, even gifts to the King of heaven, which is Christ. All generations shall praise thee with great joy. Cursed are all they which hate thee, and blessed shall all be which love thee forever. Rejoice and be glad, for the children of the just, for they shall be gathered together and shall bless the Lord of the just. Oh, blessed are they which love thee, for they shall rejoice in thy peace. Blessed are they which have been sorrowful for all thy scourges, for they shall rejoice for thee when they have seen all the glory, and shall be glad forever. Let my soul bless God, the great King, for Jerusalem shall be built up with sapphires and emeralds and precious stone, thy walls and towers and battlements with pure gold. And the streets of Jerusalem shall be paved with beryl and carbuncle and stones of Ophir. And all her streets shall say, Alleluia. And they shall praise him, saying, Blessed be God, which hath extolled it forever. And if you didn't understand, this is the new Jerusalem. This is the new earth. Okay, this is the new earth. Verse 14, chapter 14, excuse me. So Tobit, tribe of Naphtali, we'll see where he is. So Tobit, first he was in Nineveh, Mosul, Iraq. Let's see where he ends. So Tobit made an end of praising God, and he was 58 years old. That's 58 when he lost his sight, which was restored to him after 8 years. And he gave alms, and he increased in the fear of the Lord and praised him. And when he was very aged, he called his son and the sons of his son, and said to him, My son, take thy children, for behold, I am aged, and am ready to depart out of this life. So what is he telling his children? Go into Media. Okay. He then commanded his children to go into Media. Go into Media, my son, for surely believe those things which Jonas the prophet spake of Nineveh. So we see another correlation because he's referring to Jonah, right? You see how it's all connecting? You see how it's all connecting? That it shall be overthrown, and that for a time peace shall rather be in Media, that our brethren shall lie scattered in the earth from that good land. And Jerusalem shall be desolate, and the house of God in it shall be burned, and shall be desolate for a time, and that God will have mercy on them, and bring them again into the land, where they shall build a temple, but not like to the first, until the time of the age be fulfilled. And afterward they shall return from all places of their captivity, and build up Jerusalem gloriously, and the house of God shall be built in it forever with a glorious building, as the prophets have spoken thereof. Now, all those Christians who talk about the third temple, the children of Israel has not returned. Okay. And this temple would be what? For the new heaven and new earth. Why would it be in a world being destroyed? Right? See, they're not understanding scripture. They're not understanding it all. It clearly says this, right? It's not going to be like the first one, right? It's not going to be like the others. And all nations shall turn and fear the Lord God truly, and shall bury their idols. So shall all nations praise the Lord. So when is this? When Christ comes, every knee shall bow, right? And his people shall confess God, and the Lord shall exalt his people, and all those which love the Lord God in truth. And justice shall rejoice, showing mercy to our brethren. And now, my son, depart out of Nineveh, because that those things which the prophet Jonas spake shall surely come to pass. So now, in order to understand Tobit, you had to have read Jonah. But keep thou the law and the commandments, and show thyself merciful and just, that it may go well with thee. So he's telling his son, now it's time to leave. Did anyone notice that he's not moving closer to Israel, he's moving further away? Anyone notice that? I don't know if that says something, but to me it does. And bury me decently, and thy mother with me, but tarry no longer at Nineveh. Remember, my son, how Ammon handled Acharias that brought him up, how out of the light he brought him into darkness. So he deceived him, and how he rewarded him again. Okay, playing. Yet Acharias was saved, and he was able to change, but the other had his reward. Okay, for he went down into darkness. Manasseh gave alms. Manasseh did some pretty terrible things, and escaped the snares of death, which they had set for him. But Ammon fell into the snare and perished. You know, Manasseh was, you want to know the things he did? Look at the prayer of Manasseh in the Apocrypha. I tell you, if you break it down properly, and if you even read his history, he did some pretty evil things. And he was begging in that prayer for forgiveness. It's a prayer of humility, though. So we all should be begging for forgiveness just like that. All right. Moving forward. Wherefore now, my son, consider what alms doeth, and how righteousness doeth deliver. When he had said these things, he gave up the ghost in the bed, being 158 years old. That's 158 years old. And he buried him honorably. And when Anna, his mother, was dead, he buried her with his father. But Tobias departed with his wife and children to Ecbatane, to Ragul, his father-in-law. I want you to write that name, Ecbatane, Ecbatane, also called Ecbatana, where he became old with honor, and he buried his father and mother-in-law honorably, and he inherited their substance and his father Tobit's, and he died at Ecbatane in Media, okay, being 107 and 20 years old. So here we have another righteous individual dying now and being buried in the land of Iran. Okay. But before he died, he heard of the destruction of Nineveh, which was taken by, now look at the wording here in the Apocrypha. It says Nebuchadnezzar. This is the same thing as Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. And Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus, brothers and sisters, is Xerxes. Okay. Look, Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus. You see Ahasuerus? Now, check it out. Hebrew form of Xerxes. So this was Xerxes against Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. Now, how interesting was that? That y'all not gonna hear me on this one. How interesting is it that the Most High had his children thrive in both nations that were in wars against each other, and still kept the children of Israel? Because under Nebuchadnezzar, who was his right hand? Daniel. right? And under Xerxes, who was his right hand woman and man? Esther and Mordecai. Wow. And the Most High made it that the children of Israel wasn't killing each other, or the Gentiles wasn't killing the children. He just took out the Babylonians. All right. But no, you may not understand it just yet. Here, let me give you a little history really quickly. All right. From our book, we're gonna take it right to 164. So this is in the book. It's called, this is chapter 13, the Persian period. It says the century from, can y'all see that? Let me zoom in a little bit. Y'all can see it now, right? All right, good. Praise the Most High. The century from 600 to 500 BC brought tumultuous change near the east for major powers. Dominion, look at my cursor, I'm over here, if you can. Dominion dominated the political landscape at the beginning of the century. Neo-Babylonian Empire extended across Mesopotamia and the Levant. Okay, and I'll explain what Levant is later. You can just write it in your notes. I'll explain it later. Under Amasis, 570 to 526 BC, Egypt prospered while continuing to threaten Babylonian interests in the southern Levant. Increasingly, Amasis forged economic and military links with Greek traders and mercenaries who settled in the Delta. The Medes, who are the Medes? Here we got our map. Medes, Media. Oh, look at that place I told you to highlight and write. Ecbatana, also in the land of the Medes, right? Okay, moving forward. The Medes occupied the territories north of Mesopotamia, governing their empire from their capital, Ecbatana. So at that time, where he was buried was Ecbatana, which was the capital. Okay. Median kings extended their holdings westward in the central Anatolian plateau, modern Turkey. So they went all the way up there. And isn't let me see something real quick. I just want to hold on. I want to see something real quick because I did forget to check this out. But I was really interested in let me see something. Let's see. To me, it's real interesting because that name is very familiar. I can't grasp it right now, but that name is very familiar. My Persian brothers and sisters, help me out, please. Okay, but moving forward, it reads, beyond the western limits of, I'm right here. Okay. Beyond the western limits of the Median Empire lay the kingdom of Lydia. So Lydia, you see it right here. That's going into your this is not, well, Crete. You have Cyprus, and then Crete. That would be going into your the Greek area and Italy. Okay, Istanbul, Turkey. So you see this region here. Okay, it's very easy to tell the people of the Bible and their residing lands if you have the proper text. Moving forward. Okay, Kingdom of Lydia, I'm right here, which is capital at Sardis. The Lydian kings Gyges and Croesus built Lydia into a formidable force utilizing the gold retrieved from the Pactolus River. Within decades, all four of these powers would be conquered by a new force, the Persians, resulting in the formation of the largest empire the Near East ever produced, the Persian Empire. For the Jews, these changes meant an end to the exile and restoration to their ancestral home. So notice this. Every time the Persians were in power, it meant the children of Israel were going back home. So there was some type of understanding or some type of usage for the Persians that the Most High would use the Persians to set the children of Israel free, saying to end exile. And I'm going to show you how this leads into the destruction of Babylon at the last portion of the series, because the Medes will partake in destroying nations that are holding the children of Israel captive. Okay, just as it was then, so it will be today. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9 through 10. Okay, moving forward. Let me go to the next page. I apologize. Then 165. Okay. It says the Persian peoples migrated into southwestern Iran, settling inland from the Persian Gulf. So we see that here. Media is here. Persians are south. Okay, let's make that clear. Susa or Sushan. This region was called Elam, but the Persians were amongst the Elamites. It was in Tehran is called Media. These are Japhetic people. Okay, to make that clear. By 700 BC, a line of rulers claiming descendants from Archimedes eventually governed the region of Anshan, hence the term Achaemenids was used to describe later Persian royal lines. Cyrus, okay, now we're getting biblical, right? Cyrus II, or Cyrus the Great, was a son of Cambyses the first, and the Median princess Mandane, daughter of the great Median king Astyages. Thus, Cyrus was born to a marriage representing both the Persian and Median royal houses. Cyrus the Great began his rapid rise to power as the king of Anshan to overthrow his Median overlord Astyages and plundered the Median capital Ecbatana in 550 BC. Cyrus established his capital at Pasar Gade, perhaps to commemorate a nearby victory over Median forces. Cyrus then moved against the Lydian king Croesus, achieving final victory in 546 BC when Sardis fell to Persian forces. The Ionian Greek cities of Western Asia Minor, also under force of arms, came under Persian control. So this is also why Turkish individuals are Muslim, because of that ruling. Then subjection of the Ionians by Cyrus began a period of great tension between the Greeks and Persians. And now the fall of Babylon. So what we have one fall of Babylon referring to where? Iraq. Okay, the land of Nimrod, right? That's the ancient Babylon. When people see the book of Revelation, it is mystery Babylon. It is the wicked place known as America. Okay, the habitation of devils, spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah. Moving forward, additional conquests by Cyrus in the east further isolated Babylonia, cutting off vital supply lines. Nabonidus, the last Babylonian king, provoked an internal crisis when he left the city of Babylon for 10 years, spending much of his time in the Arabian oasis of Tema. In his absence, he appointed his son Belashar, sound familiar? Belashar, you want to write that name because that's in the Bible as well, as a co-regent during the last few years. During this 10-year period, Nabonidus did not participate in the crucial New Year's festival designed to win the favor of the gods for the coming year. Hint, hint, New Year's celebration is for you to win favor of the pagan gods. That's why you set out a New Year's resolution for pagan gods. You following? Good, good. His absence occasioned unrest among the Babylonian people and offended the powerful priests of Marduk. Coupled with shrinking markets and dwindling availability of goods caused by the loss of trade routes to Cyrus, tensions between people of Babylon and Nabonidus were high. Now here's a chart. I'm not going to read the chart, but you can see Cyrus. It goes in order from kings of Persia, as you can see. I was like, let me get this chart. This is amazing for the people. Cyrus, Cambyses, Darius, you see his name in the Bible, Xerxes, Artaxerxes, Xerxes, Darius, Artaxerxes, Artaxerxes. Okay. Darius, you see all these individuals in the Bible. Sometimes you can also see Alexander, which I will point out in the book of Maccabees. Okay. All part of Persia. And you have the scriptures there for some of them as well. Okay. And some of the information they decided to withhold from the Bible as well. Moving forward, the end of the Babylonian Empire came quickly. The Persian army aided the Babylonian defections, defeated the Babylonian army at Opis on the Tigris River, although hastily fortified. Get that for you. Sorry about that. Although hastily fortified by Nabonidus, those names, Babylon fell shortly thereafter. In late October 539 BC, Cyrus entered Babylon, according to his own accounts, as a liberator of the oppressed peoples of the city. And me, when I was in the army, I was going for special forces at a point, and it's so funny because when I read this, that's the motto: liberator of the oppressed. That's the motto for special forces: liberator of the oppressed. Okay, that's their seal as well. So they took something right out of the Babylonian history books, which to me that's some sinister stuff. Okay. The famous Cyrus cylinder found in the ruins of the Temple of Marduk boasts that Cyrus treated the citizens with magnanimity, restored the city, and ordered the restoration of ancient temples. Now let me show you that Cyrus cylinder. So that Cyrus cylinder had what? Liberator of the oppressed. Where did the Babylonian special forces get that term from? Let's check it out. What is this called? This is called the Cyrus cylinder. And they have took it, stole it, and they have it in a museum in Europe. They love stealing things. They love stealing things, okay? Moving forward. Such pronouncements were typical of conquering kings who stressed their role as restorers of order and often spoke of the return of dispersed peoples. So notice how that was a custom. If you're a king, you return the people who were dispersed. Cyrus died in 530 BC, fighting in the northeastern areas of his realm. His son Cambyses II succeeded him and ruled for 8 years. Cambyses' most notable achievement was the conquest of Egypt, 525 BC. Unfortunately, Egypt proved to be a most troublesome vassal, frequently rebelling against Persia and often in league with the Greeks. In fact, that's why you see today a lot of lighter skinned Egyptians, because they are Greeks. Hence also the names of the cities as well. Right. All right. So I just shared with you this Cyrus cylinder. Okay. So continuing, Cambyses' somewhat mysterious death in 522 BC left Persia in a state of turmoil for 2 years, during which rival claimants fought for the throne. By 520 BC, Darius I emerged as the victor. His famous inscription, known as the Behistun stone, states his claim to be the legitimate king. Darius I, Darius proved to be the ablest administrator of all Persian rulers. He organized the empire into 20 large regions called satraps, each region governed by a satrap. I'll call it satrap. He established a royal postal service, built a royal road connecting Susa. Go ahead and write that name, that's important. Susa. Exploited the Red Sea trade and commenced the building of a new royal residence, Persepolis. That's also a pretty important name as well. However, Darius also launched a crusade against mainland Greece in reprisal for the Ionian Revolt, 499 BC, inspired by Athens and Sparta. So at Marathon, Greek warriors stopped the Persian advance in 490 BC. Darius retreated in defeat. At his death in 486 BC, several provinces, including Egypt, were in revolt. So you have the time of the Spartans. I've told people this entire time, the movie Sparta, the movie or Spartans, that is a biblical movie. That is a biblical movie. Okay. Xerxes the first inherited from his father the Greek problem and various revolts. He too suffered defeat at the hands of the Greeks. Salamis, a naval engagement in 480 BC, was the most crushing. Xerxes is best known to Bible students as the Persian king Ahasuerus in the book of Esther. Okay, same person. Xerxes did not possess the abilities of his father, and his accomplishments were minimal, though he did manage to crush revolts in Babylon and Egypt. Babylon was sacked by Xerxes in 482 BC. Although he continued construction of Persepolis, Xerxes later died in a palace coup in 465 BC. Artaxerxes I, Longimanus, succeeded his father Xerxes in 465. Artaxerxes faced serious threats from Athens and Egypt. The peace of Callias temporarily ended the fighting with the Greeks by limiting two combatants' respective spheres of influence. Artaxerxes was especially concerned with Egypt. The mission of Nehemiah, authorized by the Persian king, likely reflects the strategic value of southern Palestine and control of the major routes leading to Egypt. So now we have another cross prophet where Nehemiah was authorized and given the authority by a Persian king to do what he was doing. That's another prophet. So far we have Ezra. So far we have Tobit. So far we have Nehemiah. Artaxerxes needed the loyalty of the Jews in those troubled days. His death in 425 likely marked the end of the Persian kings who played roles in biblical drama, unless Artaxerxes named a connection with Ezra's mission. 7 and 7 was Artaxerxes the second. So then you see another king of Persia, okay, who was helping the children of Israel. The return of the exiles to Judah. The conquest of Babylon by Cyrus the Great in 539 BC brought the dawn of a new day for the Jewish exiles. Isaiah called Cyrus the Lord's anointed, who could be God's chosen instrument to restore the exiles to their ancestral homeland. Isaiah 45, verse 1 and verse 13. So once again, you have even Isaiah talking about restoring the children of Israel. Something with these Persians, how they helped restore the children of Israel. This is why I say they really don't care about you as an individual. What they upset is that the country is turning to the Bible. That's what they're upset about. And I'll share that at a later time. But they're upset that the nation of Iran is turning to the Bible. And when that happens, they will seek answers from the Bible and not from these fake individuals who keep sending fake missionaries over there and teaching them more error. But they will say, instead of saying, you are a creation of God, which we all are, they will tell them, you are these people in the Bible, and this is the prophecy to you, connected to you, right? Moving forward. Several times the Bible mentions an edict Cyrus issued in 538 BC, allowing Jews two privileges. First, those who desired could return to Judah. So that was a first thing. That was the first thing. That was the first offer. He allowed the children of Israel to return back to the land of Israel. Now, what doesn't that sound amazing? Doesn't it sound amazing? Like, okay, Egypt didn't do that, did they? They was like, we're not gonna let you go, right? They chased us all the way to the waters, right? Okay. And second, Cyrus commanded that Jerusalem temple be rebuilt. So then they said, you need a place of worship. Go worship your God. We can't see no other nation that did that didn't try and have their hand in it, because Herod and all of them, the Romans, the children of Kittim, they came down in the time of Christ, even before that. And what happened? They had started indoctrinating, right, with the scribes and Pharisees, and they told them, you're going to pay this. They started taxing them and say, keep the people under oppression, right? It says, and directed funds from the royal treasury to support the project. So then the people had money taken from their own nation to help the children of Israel build from the ground up their homeland all over again. Now that, hey, and it says it, Ezra, if you want to see it in scripture, it's right here. Ezra chapter 1, verse 2 through 4, Ezra chapter 6, verse 3 through 5, and Second Chronicles chapter 36, verse 22 to 23. It says the stipulations of this edict reflect accurately the general policies of Cyrus known from other royal inscriptions, including the famous Cyrus cylinder located in the British Museum, which I showed you. Cyrus pursued a more beneficent and tolerant policy towards the people of his empire than the Assyrian and Babylonian predecessors. An initial group of stout-hearted exiles set off for Judah shortly after the edict of 538 BC. Sheshbazzar, a prince of Judah, Ezra chapter 1, verse 8, led the first returnees on the long, difficult trek homeward. The Bible does not mention the details of their route. The quickest route was the more dangerous desert road that passed through the oasis of Tadmor. More likely, the exiles followed the trade route westward along the Euphrates River to Aleppo. Aleppo is the place that was getting bombed from ISIS in Syria, by the way, and then turned south along the main arteries that led to Judah. So there were stops to the children of Israel's freedom. Once they got out of bondage, they first went and traveled along the Euphrates. Please look. Euphrates is this river that's going into western Iraq and into what? Syria. So even the children of Judah are in Syria. Okay. Altogether, the journey would exceed 1,000 miles. Ezra chapter 2 and Nehemiah chapter 7 lists a total of 42,360 returnees. That's how many people they let leave captivity or who chose. Scholars debate whether these lists refer to those returning with the first group or more likely those returning in several groups over an extended period of time. What is clear is that not all those taken into exile chose to return. I'm going to say it again. Not all those taken into exile chose to return. So all the children of Israel did not go back to Israel. It said many Jews remained in Babylon, which means a lot of people in Iraq are still the children of Israel. It says many Jews remained in Babylon, becoming permanent residents, the core of an influential Jewish community that later produced one of the two Talmuds. Now we know the Talmud is an evil book. The original Talmud came from Solomon. Okay, not the whole inscription of Christ and how he's evil. That came from the people that's in Israel today. Revelation 2 and 9. We know little about the initial phases of the return. Sheshbazzar was of royal Davidic lineage, son of Joachim, the exiled king of Judah. Okay, so you have what? A prince who was over a land, who even set his own people free, right? It says Cyrus appointed him as a governor and entrusted to him the return of silver vessels taken from the temple by Nebuchadnezzar. Ezra chapter 5, verse 13 through 16. Understand Sheshbazzar's leadership. The foundation of a new temple were laid in Jerusalem. However, biblical information about Sheshbazzar ceases at this point. His fate remains unknown. Now, I told you that name, Zerubbabel. Two new leaders of the Jewish community, Zerubbabel and Joshua, eventually emerged. Zerubbabel was another son of Jachin and nephew of Sheshbazzar. The date of his arrival in Jerusalem and relationship of his work to that of Sheshbazzar is much debated. In many ways, the deeds attributed to Zerubbabel and Sheshbazzar are strikingly similar. Both led returnees back to Judah. Both were governors of Judah. Both were men people led people of Judah to begin the process of rebuilding the temple. So here you have what? It's giving a predominant that Judah also served captivity in Iraq. And Judah went back. They released Judah first to create the temples. But they'll tell you that Judah just went to slave ships in Africa. Yes. This is one thing I have with liars, all those liars, because they want to make the Bible exclusive to one group of people, when the Most High says he scattered the children of Israel in all nations, right? I'm going to sit there and tell people that they're not the children of Israel when the Bible sits there and tells us that, hey, that's not true, right? And then when they give us, you have people who've been doing this for 60, 70, 80 years. When they give us the information, we still don't believe it. They don't want to read nothing. It says, most likely, Zerubbabel returned to Judah later than Sheshbazzar and took over leadership of the community at a time when discouragement had set in. The people of Judah met stiff opposition to their rebuilding efforts, both from Persian authorities such as the Tatanai, a regional governor, Ezra 5 and 6, and from enemies among the local population. So there were some people who didn't like that they were released from slavery. Spurred on by prophetic voices, Haggai, that's a prophet, and Zechariah in 520 BC, Zerubbabel led the people of Judah to complete the rebuilding of the temple. So they were listening to these prophets, right? The high priest Joshua gave invaluable assistance. These events took place against the backdrop of turmoil attending the death of Cambyses II and the ascension of Darius I. Perhaps a Judean community saw an opportunity to assert themselves in the hope of greater independence. In any case, in 515 BC, the people of Judah dedicated the new temple in Jerusalem, Ezra chapter 6, verse 13 and 18. This event marked the culmination of the initial phases of the Jewish return to their homeland. Wow. It says Judah was a small province in the great behemoth of the Persian Empire. Persian kings divided the empire into satraps, larger administrative units governed by royal officials called a satrap. Palestine was part of the fifth satrapy known as Beyond the River, Aramaic Abar Nahara, Ezra 4 and 10, Hebrew Eber Ha-Nara, Ezra 8:36, and Nehemiah 2 and 7. Beyond the river referred to the lands lying west of the Euphrates, which by 450 BC included. So where did Judah go to? Syria, Palestine, Phoenicia, and Cyprus. Let's look at this. Here we go. Palestine, Cyprus, Phoenicia, over in these regions here. Okay. And remember Aleppo up there? All right, people gotta. Ooh, never mind. I was gonna say something. Forget it. Under Cyrus, in Cambyses, beyond the river was jointly administered with Babylonia. According to Herodotus, Darius the First reorganized the empire in 20 satraps and separated beyond the river from Babylonia. Some scholars believe the final separation took place during the time of Xerxes the First. In any case, the fifth, satrapy stretched from Posidum in north to Sinai in the south. Persian administrative policy further subdivided the satraps into provinces administered by a governor. In turn, the province could be further subdivided into districts or half districts, even with its own leader. Nehemiah chapter 3, verse 9, and also verses 14 and 15. The Persians retained many of the administrative divisions previously made by the Assyrian and Babylonian predecessors. I know I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of reading, don't I? And the reason why, once again, I hope y'all realize I'm going to tie all of this with all of our information. Example, the province created by the Assyrians in the wake of the subjugation of Israel, Megiddo, Dor, Samaria, Carnium, and Gilad remained largely intact in the Persian Empire. Samaria became particularly troublesome for Judah, since her powerful governors, such as Nehemiah's enemy, Sanballat, constantly interfered with Judean efforts to rebuild their homeland. So we understand Samaria was a northern tribe. Mind you, that what Judah is coming to set up the temple. When Christ came, there was still that issue between the Samaritans, right? We saw Peter, hey, no, don't deal with this woman. She's a Samaritan, right? There was still friction between southern and northern tribe. Okay, there was still friction. We also see this, right? Judah was sitting in captivity with a few other tribes of Israel in Iraq, and they were going back and forth between Iraq and Assyrian captivity and the Persian captivity, right? But they were still there in Samaria. So they were giving them a hard time trying to build. Remember what Tobit said. They were wanting, even the children of Naphtali, the northern tribe, they were all sacrificing to Baal. Remember? Okay. So they were going to give them a hard time because they didn't want to serve the Most High. See that? So I hope you see how I'm tying it all in together. Okay. It says, perhaps the Samaritan authorities feared a full recovered Judah to their south. So they didn't want Judah to be built. They didn't want the children of Judah to be strong together. We even see that today all over the world. It says Ashdod, including the coastal plains south of Sorek River to Gerar and Shephelah, and Idumea became provinces under Babylonian control. So mind you, Idumea, or known as Edomites, right? They became under Babylonian control, not Persian control, which meant what? They were also going to have a problem with Judah because they were released from captivity, right? It says Phoenician influence along the Palestinian coast became pronounced as the Persians permitted Tyre and Sidon access to coastal cities. So that's why we see even today, Lebanon and the different countries over there, Gaza still working with Iranians today. Okay. Just going off of the land mass. Not everyone in Gaza or what they would call Palestine are the children of Israel. Okay. It says, Idumea extended over the southern Judea hills. The population increasingly consisted of Edomites dislodged by Arab incursions from their ancestral homes southeast of the Dead Sea. So now you have the Arabs who had fought off the Edomites and took their land. They took a land grab. Okay. It says the Idumeans were to play a key role later in biblical history through the powerful Herodian dynasty. Herodian dynasty is from Herod, okay, the one who persecuted Christ. Okay. The provincial structure of Transjordan is less well known. Ammon appears as a separate province with an important Jewish population. We know they had the children of Gad, okay, amongst them, and the children of Benjamin. The powerful family headed by Tobiah the Ammonite, one of Nehemiah's foes. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 19, and then chapter 4, verse 3, hailed from this area. The Tobiads meddled in the affairs of Judah for centuries, so they also had an issue. Their impressive palace at Arak el Amir testifies to their wealth. Moab suffered greatly under Arab oppression, so even Moabites, or what they call today Jordanians, suffered from Arabs as well, but maintained a separate identity, unlike Edom. So Edom started mixing with Arabs. You can't beat them, join them. The Moabites said, we're two different people, but later today, right, the Jordanians, they call themselves what? They call themselves Arabs. They're not Arabs. Let's make that very clear. Okay. To the south, it says Moab suffered greatly under Arab pressure, but maintained a separate identity, unlike Edom, which collapsed under Arab intrusions. Ammonite and Moabite women were among wives Jewish men had taken in the time of Nehemiah. That's Nehemiah 13 and 23. To the south, the Kedarite Arabs control Edom and Sinai. Another of Nehemiah's enemies were Geshem, the Arab, okay, a powerful chieftain who controlled trade routes vital to Persian interests. Nehemiah 6, chapter 6, verse 1. It says the province of Judah was restricted to the mountainous region in and around Jerusalem, the provincial capital. Seals and coins minted in the region give their province's official name, Yahud. Yahud means Judah. Okay. These materials give a good approximation of the borders of the province of Judah. Plotting their distribution reveals the northern limit and the territory of Benjamin, including Mizpah, a southern boundary that extends to Bethzar, an eastern limit, including Jericho and En-Gedi, and a western boundary that embraces Gezer and Azekah. Numerous biblical lists containing information about place names and returnees. You see there? I'm not going to read that one, it's a little too long. Agree with this distribution. Noah compromised an area covering roughly 900 square miles. Judah. I apologize. Judah compromised an area covering roughly 900 square miles. Jerusalem was a provincial capital where the resident governor lived. The list of the builders who worked on the walls of Jerusalem under Nehemiah's direction indicates that Judah was further subdivided into districts and half districts. Scholars debate the precise number of districts and excluding Jerusalem. The following cities likely served as direct capitals: Bethzar, Mitzvah, Beth Hasserim, and Keilah. Other scholars assume the list is incomplete and include Jericho and Gezer as well. A. Jordanians or Moabites, um, and I'm not gonna sit there and argue who's a Moabite because some people say Chinese. That's not even biblical either. So don't argue with me. Go read a book. Those of you who are in Jordan, you know how you treat the people of color in Jericho. So you know exactly. They call and the Moabites or the Jordanians call Jericho the land of the black people, or they call it the ghetto. Okay, yeah, they know. Okay. Um, Moving forward, archaeology indicates that Judah in the Persian period was predominantly rural. Most people chose to tend to their plots of land in or near their ancestral villages. Jerusalem was not especially inviting. Nehemiah had to levy the villages to repopulate the city. Nehemiah 11, 1 through 2. Luxury items were limited. Moreover, Judah was increasingly culturally isolated as Greek and Phoenician influence predominated in the coastal region. Persian policy toward Judah on the whole was benevolent, but hostile neighbors like the governors of Samaria were zealous to see that Jerusalem did not threaten their position. So, hey, the Persians, even when they were in charge, they was like, hey, we're gonna make sure these people got their own land, leave them alone. They just came from captivity, but other nations didn't want to leave the children of Israel alone. Very, very sad, right? Mm, Last page here. And it's so hard finding this picture. They I they have it all broken up, but this is a picture in uh in uh, uh, uh in Iran today, in the area of Elam. As you can see, it says Median soldiers in the service of the Royal Persian Guard, as shown on relief made of glazed bricks found at Susa, one of Persian administrative centers. So even the children of Israel fought with them in war. I'm gonna let you see Nehemiah's Jerusalem real quick. I'll leave it there so you can pause it. I won't read this portion. Okay. Renewal under Ezra and Nehemiah. Soon after 500 BC, discouragement and spiritual apathy gripped Judah. Malachi confronted the people with his penetrating oracles that sought to revitalize the spirit of the people. The Jewish community, we'll say the Hebrew community, was on the verge of cultural assimilation and extinction. God sent two pivotal figures to salvage the situation. Who was that? Ezra and Nehemiah. Their ministries coincided with much greater Persian interest in their southern border. Egypt, backed by Greek encouragement, revolted against Persia, first in 488 BC, then later in 461 BC during the reign of Artaxerxes I. The Persians fortified many sites along the Palestinian coast and the Shephelah as supply stations and garrison to maintain their hold on Egypt. Judah became strategically important in light of Egypt's obstinance. Doesn't sound like a good thing, does it? Okay. Both Ezra and Nehemiah's missions to Judah must be viewed against this backdrop. Ezra arrived in Jerusalem during the seventh year of Artaxerxes, Ezra 7 and 7, traditionally taken to mean Artaxerxes I, therefore, therefore 458 BC. However, an alternative hypothesis suggests that Ezra followed Nehemiah, arriving in the seventh year of Artaxerxes II, 398 BC. For a variety of reasons, the traditional date seems preferable. Ezra was a scribe skilled in the law of Moses, Ezra chapter 7 and 6, who called the people back to their covenant obligations. He led he led a group back from Babylon carrying with him gold and silver granted by the king in addition to the freewill offerings from the Jewish exiles. So now you have, once again, what did I say? Ezra, who was a part of the Babylonian and the Persian, captivity. You have Ezra. Then we have Tobit. Who else? Now we have Nehemiah, right? See where this is going? Okay. Apparently, Artaxerxes appointed him as a minister of religious affairs in keeping with the general Persian policy of supporting local cults. They put this in there. We don't support no cults, neither would a prophet of the Most High. Okay. So Artaxerxes made Nehemiah, how cool is that? A minister of religious affairs over the children of Israel. Isn't that amazing? What kind of captivity is that? Where and think about it, right? These people didn't even serve the Most High. This is why I said close but distant. Close by heart but distant by religion, because they've done things that the Most High has not put on the heart of even Pharaoh in Egypt, right? Or even the Assyrians or even the Babylonian captivity. I mean, look what happened with Daniel. They put him in a den of lions, right? But they didn't do these things in the Persian captivity. Okay. So moving forward, Nehemiah was a minister of religious affairs. And after reading the law to the people of Jerusalem, Ezra led the people in confession of their sins and recommitment of their lives. So this is Nehemiah and Ezra together rolling out. Okay. Or excuse me, this is Ezra. Nehemiah served as a cupbearer to Artaxerxes, just passing him along his food and a servant, right? I always said, before you can be served, you must serve, right? It's simple. Even Christ said that, right? Christ knew. He knew he's going to be served in heaven. So he came to serve. That's why he said, I'm not coming here to be served. I'm coming here to serve. Nehemiah served as a cupbearer to Artaxerxes, Nehemiah 2:1, before receiving his appointment as governor of Judah. So now we have a prophet who is now governor over the children of Israel. Distressed by reports of the dire conditions of his kinspeople in Judah, he left Susa. So you see, even Nehemiah was stationed in Susa. Okay. Where's Susa? Let's go back to that map. Where? There it is. Elam. Elam. That's Iran. Like I said, I'm gonna need the Iranians. I'm gonna need them to stop worshiping Islam, because it's really just, it doesn't make any sense why. It really doesn't. I don't understand. I'm mind boggled. I I really am. Like, how could you? I mean, the people of of the Persians have had, according to the Bible, they've had some of the best experiences with the prophets and some of the children of Israel. They have the better experiences than what Edom, than with the Arabs and Moabites and Ammonites, right? They've had better experiences, even with the Egyptians, right? Even with the Cushites, right? Says Nehemiah faced once again. Oh my. I'm getting frustrated reading this. He left Susa under royal appointment and journeyed to Jerusalem, arriving at 445, 444 BC, Nehemiah faced serious opposition to his effort to rebuild Jerusalem from Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and especially Sanballat, governor of Samaria. So that's why I was getting frustrated. I'm always bothering the children of the Most High and the prophets trying to do right. All the children of Israel want to be left alone and serve the Most High, right? That's it. Nehemiah quickly surveyed the situation and commenced rebuilding the fortifications of Jerusalem. After securing the city walls, Nehemiah took economic measures to relieve the suffering of the poor citizens. So even while Nehemiah was the man in captivity, he still took the funds and helped the poor people. He didn't have to do that. He didn't be like, well, Most High bless me. You know, that's how most people think, right? The Most High bless you, and you think that that's the end of the road. We can learn something, can't we? It's not about you, because if the Most High gives you a position, it's your job to use the position to bring light. That's what it's about. What are you doing for people to come to the Most High, right? If you have a position like this, if you have a position where you can help, look what Nehemiah did as governor. It says he took economic measures to relieve suffering of the poor citizens. First thing he did, usury was abolished, loans were abolished. That means debt. It says burdensome taxation used to support governmental officials was ended. So paying for taxes for individuals, your government officials, was abolished. Isn't that a problem we see in today's world? You got your politicians flying and going here and there, and you still stuck thinking about what groceries you're gonna buy. You still stuck trying to figure out how if you put uh, 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 money in your gas bill or your electric bill, right? Isn't that what we see? So when you follow the Most High and you have proper leaders, the Most High tells the leaders, "Hey, this is what I want to be done. Cut all this stuff off." Isn't that beautiful? It says returning to Susa after 12 years. So he had left from Iran and went back to the children of Israel. He stayed there for 12 years and tried to get it together. It says Nehemiah served his people as governor a second time, during which time he dealt with certain social and religious problems threatening Jewish identity. Mixed marriages were forbidden, commercial activities were banned on the Sabbath, and the Levites were reinstated to their rightful position. Nehemiah chapters 11, chapters 12, and chapters 13. In effect, the effort of Ezra and Nehemiah saved the Jewish community, the Hebrew community, from extinction. New foundations of the Jews were laid for the physical and spiritual well-being of the Hebrew community. However, the threat of cultural assimilation was not over. The Greek period would present even greater challenges to Jewish identity. And we understand because they stole our country. Right. Think of it, right? These are the children of Israel. They clearly share with you. These are the children of Israel. And so who are those other people? Right? Okay. Those other people are Ashkenaz. All right. And I want to share this map real quick. Let's make it very clear that before all of this Greek Alexander, the devil, it says the great, his empire, he's the one who separated. If you notice, the country of Iran coming from Media, Susa or Susha, Parasis, which are Persians, okay, Iran, you have Esfahan, you have Yazid, you have the mountains, and Tehran up here, okay. Over here is Afghanistan. Look what it says. So Iran was a part, or should I say Afghanistan was a part of Iran. That's Kandahar. That's Kabul. Are you following? It's the same people. Wait. Islamabad, where is that? Pakistan. It was the same nation of people, but never mind. And if you get into history, India was called Hindus, the Hindus Valley or India. Okay, and that's how they got their name. India, they took off the H and a few letters and put it's really India is a name really coined to their god. Okay, that they still serve today, that they're still stuck in error. Okay, now I know I hit you with a lot, right? So what do we have next? We got the Book of Judith. I'm gonna go all the way in here. The Book of Judith. Okay. Chapter 1. Going 1 through 16. It says, in the 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, remember I told you that spelling is different. In the 4th year, in the 12th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, who reigned in Nineveh, that's Mosul, the great city in the days of Arphaxad, which reigned over the Medes in Ecbatane. Okay, where I showed you that was the capital before. And built in Ecbatane walls round about, stones hewn 3 cubits broad and 6 cubits long, and made the height of the wall 70 cubits in breadth thereof 50 cubits. Now, also I wanted to share something with y'all. Let me go ahead and share it with y'all. What's that place? Ecbatana. Wow, look. Wow, look at that, right? Today they call it Hamadan. Okay. Today they call it Hamadan. Mind you, this is 2022, by the way. They call it Hamadan. I'll put this in the link below. But I just wanted to share with you that these places are still standing and they even making it a touristic site. Isn't that cool to know? Right? I thought it was pretty cool. And they said at the time there was going to be, I think I read an article also that they're calling it one of the wonders of the world, according to UNESCO. Now we know they ain't nobody special, but I thought that was interesting that they always claim, UNESCO always claims biblical sites as a world, right? It even says here, Ecbatana was the capital of Media. Oh, okay, and subsequently a summer residence for the Achaemenid kings who ruled Persia. So you see, we're correct. Okay, just want to make sure you understand, give you a little history, according with the Bible, showing you the Bible is real. And set the towers thereof upon the gates of it 100 cubits high, and breadth thereof, and the foundation 60 cubits. And he made the gates thereof even gates that were raised to the height of 70 cubits, and the breadth of them was 40 cubits, for going forth of his mighty armies, and for the setting in array of his footmen. Even in those days, King Nebuchadnezzar made war with King Arphaxad, and the great plain which is in the plain in the borders of Ragu. And there came unto him all that dwelt in the hill country, and all that dwelt by Euphrates, and Tigris, and Hydaspes, in the plain of Arioch. The king of Elymines, and very many nations of the son of Shelad assembled themselves to the battle. Then Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, sent unto all that dwelt in Persia and to all that dwelt westward, and to those that dwelt in Cilicia, excuse me, and Damascus, and Labanus, and Antibanus, and to all that dwelt upon the seacoast, and to those among the nations that were of Carmel and Galad, and the higher Galilee, and the great plain of Esdraelon, and to all that were in Samaria, and the cities thereof, and beyond Jordan unto Jerusalem, and Bethane, and Shelus, and Cades, and the river of Egypt, and Taphnes, and Ramesi, and all the land of Gesem. Remember who was Gesem? The Arab, right? Who was against? Okay. And until ye come beyond Tanis and Memphis, and to all the inhabitants of Egypt, until ye come to the borders of Ethiopia. So this was his ruling all the way there. But all the inhabitants of the land made light in the commandment of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Syrians, neither went they with him to the battle, for they were not afraid of him. Yea, he was before them as one man, and they sent away his ambassadors from them without effect and with disgrace. Therefore Nebuchadnezzar was very angry with all this country, and sware by his throne and kingdom that he would surely be avenged upon all the coast of Cilicia, and Damascus, and Syria, and that he would slay with the sword all the inhabitants of the land of Moab, and the children of Ammon, and all Judea, and all that were in Egypt, till ye come to the borders of the two seas, meaning come into his territory in which he owned. Then he marched in battle array with his power against King Arphaxad in the 17th year, and he prevailed in his battle, for he overthrew all the power of Arphaxad and his horsemen and all his chariots, and became lord of his cities, and came unto Ecbatane, and took the towers, and spoiled the streets thereof, and turned the beauty thereof into shame. He took also Arphaxad in the mountains of Ragu, and smote him through with his darts, and destroyed him utterly that day. So he returned afterward to Nineveh, both he and all his company of sundry nations, being a very great multitude of men of war. And he took ease and banqueted, both he and his army, 120 days. So they rested 120 days and just relaxed after the war. You may ask, why am I sharing that part with you? Hold on, gotta pull you in there, right? Judith chapter 9, so 1 through 14 says, Judith fell upon her face, put ashes upon her head, and uncovered the sackcloth wherewith she was clothed. And about the time that the incense of the evening were offered in Jerusalem in the house of the Lord, Judith cried with a loud voice and said, O Lord, God of my father, Simeon, to whom thou gavest a sword to take vengeance of the strangers, who loosened the girdle of a maid to defile her, and discovered the thigh to her shame, and polluted her virginity to her reproach. For thou saidst, it shall not be so, and yet they did so. So here we see Judith was on a mission for what? Purity, correct? She didn't like how they were defiling specifically virgins, correct? All right, so you see that, sorry about that. You see that Judah did not like what was being done, right? They were taking, and yet, I say, close by heart, distant in religion, understand that they had some kind of problem, right? Because you had Xerxes taking women from many countries. We saw that in the book of Esther, right? We saw that in the book of Esther. He had Vashti as the wife, and then he took Esther, right? So they had problems with fornication, right? They wanted many women. want you to know that this is at the same time as Esther. Okay, this is at the same time as Esther. All right, that's why I have Esther coming right after Judith. They were going through the same problems in different cities, different regions. Okay, but moving forward. So Judith of Simeon, upset, didn't like the evils that was going on. Now think about this, right? With all the things going on in Iran, would Judith be upset about a head covering or a beheading? A beheading. Come on, right? Come on. There's no disrespect to that woman, that young lady, you know. But what I'm trying to say is they're not giving the whole story. Just like, to me, it's like a Middle Eastern George Floyd. Like, they not giving the whole story. They just making someone look like a hero, but you're not knowing the whole background of the person. And that's dangerous. I mean, the children of Israel did this already with Christ and the thief, right? Was it Barabbas, right? Pontius said, hey, we could release one. Once you release this man, has not a crime on his name. But they went up in arms, for the thief and the murderer, right? It's a playbook from the devil. And everyone doing all these things for a person you don't know. And watch, they may release it this month, may release it next month. They're going to feel so crazy when they find out what this person was involved in. They didn't say where they came from. They didn't say who they were. They didn't say what type of job they did. They didn't say the education, right? They said nothing, right? They never give the true information. I ain't condoning death. Let's say, like, hey, she's, coming from somewhere, and they be like, oh, why is her job not on, and then just kill her. That's still wrong as well. If they beat her, that's wrong. That's true, right? But they're not telling the whole story, right? They just have you cutting your hair off and thinking it's women's equality, taking your hair off, taking your head covering off. But yet, once again, what did I say if you watch my lessons prior, once again, I said during the time of Babylon going through their emotional stages of wanting abortion and gay pride, I said, you literally wanting to kill and beat people over killing children, but your food prices is rising. Your home prices are rising. Like, that's the most important thing to you? Like, I'm thinking like a hijab over your religion is the most important, right? Now, for the women who blindly follow all that stuff and don't follow modesty, like Judith here, and righteous women in the Bible, that's frightening because you view a piece of cloth that was used as some type of modesty, right? You use that as a form of freedom rather than saying the root of this problem is from Islam, right? So instead of seeking God and who God truly is, they seeking themselves. They worshiping themselves. They're not looking to worship the Most High, are they? They're not saying, "Oh, we're gonna take this hijab off and cut our hair because, we want to serve a real God." They they doing it out of pure, like, I just want to be free. Like, good grief, leave me alone. And I'm telling you, from head to toe. Excuse me if I sound graphic, but what's them from stopping from taking off a head covering to taking off clothes? Because if you think a head covering is bad, you must think a jacket is even worse. That's scary, but we have an opportunity. Ladies, there's an opportunity to serve the Most High. There's an opportunity to get yourself together. Islam is not the answer. It is not a religion of peace. Only Christ can give you peace. Only. Okay? And learn. There was a woman named Judith who understand that the Most High put her in a place to execute judgment for people defiling pure and innocent people. That's that's a reason to mourn. That's a reason to mourn. All right. Wherefore, verse 3, wherefore thou gavest their rulers to be slain, so that they dyed their bed in blood, being deceived, and smotest the servants with their lords, and their lords upon their thrones, and hast given their wives for a prey, and their daughters to be captives, and all their spoils to be divided among thy dear children, which were moved with zeal, and abhorred the pollution of their blood, and called upon thee for aid, O God, hear me also, a widow. So, what's happening here? People were giving their wives as a prey, they were giving their children. That's Islam. When you tell your daughter to marry her cousin and then allow them to behead them and help them, that's giving your children to pollution. That's spoiling your child. Like, why create a child just to do evil to them? That's what you should be protesting over, Iran. That's what they should be protesting over. For thou hast not only those things, but also the things which fell out before, and when which ensued after, thou hast thought upon the things which are now, which are to come. Yea, what things thou didst determine were ready at hand, and said, Lo, we are here. For all thy ways are prepared, and thy judgments are in the foreknowledge, in thy foreknowledge. For behold, the Assyrians are multiplied in their power, they are exalted with horse and man. They glory in the strength of their footmen, they trust in shield and spear and bow and sling, and know not that thou art the Lord that breakest the battles. The Lord is thy name. Throw down their strength in thy power, and bring down their force in thy wrath. For they have proposed to defile thy sanctuary, and to pollute the tabernacle where thy glorious name resteth, and to cast down with the sword the horn of thy altar. Behold their pride, and send thy wrath upon their heads, given to mine hand, which I am in widow, the power that I have conceived. Smite by the deceit of my lips the servants with the prince, and the prince with the servant. Break down their stateliness by the hand of a woman. For thy power standeth not in multitude, nor thy might in strong men, for thou art a God of the afflicted, and helper of the oppressed, an upholder of the weak, a protector of the forlorn, a savior of them that are without hope. Can you say amen? Now, when I just read this last scripture, it rung a bell to me. Remember when it says in Isaiah 14, says Satan will say, I will be like the Most High, right? So here clearly, Judith was asking that she, as a woman, be able to bring down a nation. And what do you see in the world today? Satan using the women to bring down the nations. Isn't it crazy how they went from abortion, they went from gay rights to abortion, LGBTEB, all kinds of stuff. And then it's so heartbreaking to see that it's not twisted men who are pushing the pedophile agenda, it's the women who are mothers. And I'm not saying that it's not for sick men. I'm saying you don't see at the forefront men saying, let's call them MAPS, minor attracted people. You got women saying this. Satan is using the woman to destroy everything. And it's no disrespect. It is no disrespect. If you are a righteous woman of the Most High, keep striving, keep going. It doesn't apply to you. But if you are a woman who is going every way to and fro with the world, you are a partaker of the destruction. You are a partaker. Babylon is what? Iran. Look, the world is a partaker of the whore's cup. And you are wanting to take off a hijab, cut your hair, and the sake of what? This has nothing to do with someone's death. You just said it in the videos. You want equality. This has nothing to do with that woman's death. She didn't take off her head cover. She wasn't cutting her hair. She wasn't even know what we may not know. They may tell us. You don't know. But so far, we don't know of her protesting. We don't know of her going out and being an activist. We don't know if she's done this. So what if she didn't do this? What if the representation that you are having for this person was totally different from who they are? You you would disgrace the family. You would disgrace yourself. You would look like an entire fool because you're doing something you think is meaningful, yet if that person was alive, they look at you like, what? Okay. And and I'm just saying that for the worldly aspect. Imagine what the Most High is saying. You'll burn down things to take a piece of cloth off to be equal when God created us in his image. What greater equalness is that? He told the angels to worship us as a creation, not for us to worship angels. We are greater than the angels. But yet you want you want Babylonian equality? You want to twerk? You want to dress immodest? You want to wear nothing down the street? You want to abort children? This is shame. It's a shame. Verse 11, for thy power standeth not in the multitude, nor thy might in strong men, for thou art a God of the afflicted, and helper of the oppressed, and upholder of the weak, a protector of the forlorn, a savior of them that are without hope. I pray thee, O God of my father, and God of the inheritance of Israel, Lord of the heavens and earth, creator of the waters, king of every creature, hear thou my prayer, and make my speech and deceit to be their wound and stripe. And why does it say deceit? Because she had to deceive the king to cut his head off. It wasn't that she was deceitful in an evil way. She had to trick this man so that she can get his attention. It says, who have purposed cruel things against thy covenant and thy hallowed house, and against the top of Zion, and against the house of the possession of thy children, and make every nation and tribe to acknowledge that thou art the God of all power and might, and that there is none other that protecteth the people of Israel but thou. And you know what's sad? Come on now. Y'all know where I'm about to go. Why is it, Islam? Why is it that y'all keep toting this so-called religion of peace? I didn't hear not a person say anything. You're not even protesting about the children being killed and murdered through ISIS in Syria and Iraq. You didn't hear a thing. And that was close home, right? That was a neighbor to them. Where's the uproar for the children? Where's the uproar for the elderly? For the widows? For those who had no one? Where's the uproar for them? I'm telling you, I'm gonna say it again over and over throughout this series. Don't let Satan use you. Come to the Most High. Come to the Most High, the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the only God, because Islam just got y'all looking crazy. It's got you looking crazy. I totally understand it's an oppressive religion. It came from the Catholics. It was created. That's why the nuns wear all black. That's why the women in Islam wear all black and they cover themselves. They both got head coverings. One just cover the eyes, the other doesn't. They both wear long dresses that don't show nothing. It's the same thing. It's just for a Middle Eastern twist, what they call Middle Eastern. It's time to be mad at the people who are being led by Satan. And it's really time to be mad at yourself for believing in lies. Why? You just think, why all of a sudden you care about Iran? Y'all didn't care years ago. You keep sanctioning us. You ain't giving us money like you giving Ukraine. Why? Why? No, no, no. I mean, and remember this. What happened the last time Babylon, America, helped a nation in the Middle East? Supposedly. Look what they did to Afghanistan. I saw a documentary yesterday. People are in so much debt, they have to sell their children and their organs. They're having surgeries to remove their organs to pay taxes to the Taliban. Who did that? America. Didn't Reagan and Bush set them up? It's a CIA funded group. And then they left all the military equipment for them. And then they seized all the money that the people worked for when they changed it for what, 15, 20 years. All stripped down to nothing. And now they're being beheaded, they're being flogged daily, they're being taxed because they're used to a life that Babylon helped change and then ditch them. They were using you in Afghanistan. And now they're looking to use you in Iran. And this was a straw. This was a straw. Mark my words, brothers and sisters. This is not going away. It's going to get really bad for Iran. And I wouldn't, listen to me now, because Iran supplies the drones for Russia to bomb Ukraine. I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with some ploy saying that Iran needs to be stopped. Their regime needs to be controlled. And brothers and sisters in Iran, you think life is bad now? Do you not see what Babylon did to Iraq? Do you not see what they're doing to Syria? Do you not see that they're still bombing nations in Africa? And you really think they care about you? You are just a puzzle piece to Satan's plan. You are a pawn. All that emotion, the demons, the spirits, they need to thrive off of error. Because the Bible said you are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. The Most High said, my thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways aren't your ways. He said, lean to me and not your own understanding. That means before you go out and lash out in emotion, think. A wise man has discretion. Think. We crying in Iran. Give me some food. Inflation is high. You put sanctions on us. What about that? I'm going to talk about that too later. What about that? In chapter 16, as you can see, I'm sort of skipping little pieces of Judith, but definitely awesome to read Judith. Awesome. I would suggest, of course, reading the entire Bible, but Judith is like another amazing Esther. Okay. Chapter 16, verse 1 through 25. Well, yeah, I'll do that. It says, then Judith began to sing this thanksgiving, and all Israel and all the people sang after her this song of praise. Judah sang and began, and Judah said, begin unto my God with timbrels, sing unto my Lord with cymbals. Tune unto him a new psalm, exalt him, call upon his name. For God breaketh the battles, for among the camps in the midst of the people he had delivered me out of the hands of them that persecuted me. Ashur came out of the mountains from the north. He came with 10,000s of his army, the multitude whereof stopped with torrents, and their horsemen had covered the hills. He bragged that he would burn up my borders and kill my young men with the sword and dash the sucking children against the ground and make mine infants as a prey and my virgins as a spoil. But the Almighty Lord had disappointed them by the hand of a woman. So I want you to see, Satan hates when he can use when he can't use a woman. I want you to understand that. Satan used Eve to get to Adam. Satan is using women to destroy the world. And we can even reverse it, right? Satan today is using women to block or destroy the barrier of safety towards children. First time was against men, now it's against children and men, right? So it's the woman versus the man and the child. You see how many mothers have been slitting their children's throats? You see how many mothers been losing custody battles in Babylon and Europe all over, and then killing the kids? Satan is right now at this moment is harnessing all that emotion of the women who are out of error, who not serving the Most High, and he's saying, "Oh, look at these children. If I didn't have these children, I'd be able to live my life. Let me just kill them. Why I gotta be tied to one man? Let me just. Oh, he better not cheat on me. I need to have multiple partners." Right now, Satan is grasping all that evil energy. You got, it's so crazy, right? There's women in Europe who feel like the only way to protest is to be completely naked. Like, what? That's sick. It's sick. We living in a world where modesty and security of love is under attack. And I'm talking about biblical love, love for a husband, love for a wife, love for children. And now they're coming for a love of modesty. I mean, think about it, right? Iran, my brothers and sisters, why isn't Saudi Arabia protesting? You know, they don't get no rights. Oh, come on now. They just started opening up some things, but they don't get no rights. How come we don't hear about Saudi? How come we don't hear about Rohingya? Hmm. Isn't it strange? Unfortunately, I'm gonna let you know, and I'm sorry to say this, but mark my words, Iran is going to fall due to this one protest. And I say that with confidence because nothing else has budged with this nation. Like, you had your general assassinated, did nothing. Nations put sanctions on you to stop you from receiving oil, so you can't gas and have electric. You did nothing. Nations sanction other nations for helping you. You did nothing. And now, over a piece of modesty, you're destroying your own country instead of removing the people and turning to the Most High. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, this is gonna be the one. This is how they gonna get into. This is how they gonna get into Iran. In fact, hold on. I want to share this with y'all. I promised myself I was gonna save it, but no, I just can't. I just can't. I want to share this with y'all because Nobody believed me when I say this is the death of Iran because of what's happening. It's something going on. And if you're not truly in tune with the Most High, your 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 mind is you're all over the place emotionally. I said it from the beginning. Those who are with me in person say, stay inside, you know how we do.
Why is everyone in Europe going crazy over this portal?
I say, hey, this and the things that I've shared with y'all in person, the things that I shared with y'all in person, I said, this looked like a George Floyd Chicago riot. And I'm gonna share with y'all probably in part 2. So I'm telling you, you're being manipulated. You're being manipulated. Anybody who falling for this, you're being manipulated. So check out this article here. Check out this article. This is Tehran Times, right? German embassy is the instigator. Of unrest in Iran. Now, why would they say that? Why would they say that? Why would they say that? This is why.
The protest death of the Kurdish woman Mahsa Amini continue to rage across Iran. In the latest, the Islamic Republic has now arrested at least about 9 foreign nationals from France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Poland for their role in these demonstrations.
So why they got different nations of Europeans partaking in something that has nothing to do with you?
The officials say that, these European nationals were detained during the riots or while plotting for more unrest in the country. The demonstrations erupted after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini while she was in the custody of the morality police, who detained her, allegedly for not wearing her hijab in the correct manner. So as protests across the country have entered into the 3rd week of its gunfire, and Oslo-based Iran human rights group has claimed that at least about 83 people have been killed so far in these protests. The deadly crackdown following the protests has also drawn widespread international condemnation, with Amnesty International saying that Iran has intentionally used lethal force against the protesters and has called for international action. Many journalists
And is called for international action. What? When Ethiopia and Sudan and Tigray is having their own people bomb them, plus from Eritrea come and wage tribal war, I don't hear nothing about international action there. Or what about what about the war in Libya? I don't, or the slavery going on there, or Saudi Arabia dropping bombs on the Yemenis. I don't hear about international action there. Mark my words. This is the one.
Activists and prominent figures have been arrested as part of this crackdown. This, the Islamic Republic has been blaming outside forces for the protests. Meanwhile, another woman was detained by the Iranian security officials after a picture of her and another woman eating at a restaurant in Tehran without wearing a hijab went viral. And another development, the Iranian state-linked media has reported that up to 19 people were killed in an attack by armed separatists on a police base in the eastern city of Zahedan. Amongst those who were killed was the commander of the paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. It remains unclear whether the attack was related to the nationwide anti-government protests that are presently raging across the country.
That don't look like the people wanna protest. I told you, it's the elder versus the younger generation.
Nationwide anti-government protests that are presently raging across the country. Now, all over the world, demonstrations in solidarity for Iranian women are being held, predominantly by members of the Iranian diaspora. The rallies have been planned across 77 cities worldwide. In Chile's capital city of Santiago, members of the Iranian community got together in front of the Human Rights National Institute to show their solidarity with the protesters in Iran.
Un pelo no es porque ya no es obligatorio. Este pelo es, ¿cómo se llama? Es un derecho personal y el gobierno no puede poner como obligatorio un hijab cabeza para este pelo.
Beyond is now available in your country. Download the app.
Hey, all these people, I told you. Why now, brothers and sisters in Iran? Why now? Why now do they care about you? It's a plan. You can't trust the whore known as Babylon. Now, like I said, it's the religion. It has nothing to do with the head covering. It's the religion. Not only is it that your nation is turning faster to the Bible than any other nation, light speed, but it's also that your nation is also upholding. They're trying to uphold Islam. And the Most High is like, well, we're done with that. All right. Moving forward. For the mighty one did not fall by the young men, neither did the sons of the Titans smite him, nor high giants set upon him, but Judith, the daughter of Merami, weakened him with the beauty of her countenance, for she put off the garment of her widowhood for the exaltation of those that were oppressed in Israel, and anointed her face with ointment, and bound her hair in a tie, and took a linen garment to deceive him. Her sandals ravished his eyes, her beauty took his mind prisoner, and the falchion or fashion passed through his neck. The Persians quaked at her boldness, and the Medes were daunted at her hardiness. Then my afflicted shouted for joy, and my weak ones cried aloud, but they were astonished. These lifted up their voices, but they were overthrown. The sons of the damsels have pierced them through and wounded them as fugitives' children. They perish by the battle of the Lord. I will sing unto the Lord a new song. O Lord, thou art great and glorious, wonderful in strength and invincible. Let all creatures serve thee, for thou spakest, and they were made. Thou didst send forth thy spirit, and it created them, and there is none that can resist thy voice. For the mountains shall be moved from their foundations with the waters, and the rocks shall melt as wax at thy presence. Yet thou art merciful to them that fear thee. For all sacrifice is too little for a sweet savor unto thee, and all fat is not sufficient for thy burnt offering. But he that feareth the Lord is great at all times. Woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance of them in the day of judgment, in putting fire and worms in their flesh, and they shall feel them and weep forever. Now, as soon as they entered into Jerusalem, they worshiped the Lord, and as soon as the people were purified, they offered their burnt offerings and their free offerings and their gifts. Judith also dedicated all the stuff of Holofernes, which the people had given her, and gave the canopy, which she had taken out of his bedchamber for a gift unto the Lord. So the people continued feasting in Jerusalem before the sanctuary for the space of 3 months, and Judith remained with them. After this time, everyone returned to his own inheritance, and Judith went to Bethulah and remained in her own possession and was in her time honorable in all the country. Many desired her, but none knew her all the days of her life. After that, Manasseh, her husband, was dead and was gathered to his people, but she increased more and more in honor and waxed old in her husband's house, being 105 years old, and made her maid free. So she died in Bethulah, and they buried her in the cave of her husband Manasseh. And the house of Israel lamented over her 7 days, and before she died, she did distribute her goods to all them that were nearest of kindred to Manasseh her husband, and to them that were the nearest of her kindred. And there was none of them, and there was none that made the children of Israel any more afraid in the land of Judah, nor a long time after her death. Okay. Now, this is going to be part one of part one. Okay. But I don't want to make this too long. But next lesson, or next portion of this, so I'm going to try and speed this up because before it happens, I want to make sure my brothers and sisters in Iran, in that region, I want to make sure everyone got the knowledge, okay? Because it's important to me. So, when we get into the next portion of Iran, oh, buddy, check this out. I'm going to end it with this. We are going to go into Iran's forgotten people. Fair use. Wait, excuse me, it's not this one. But still, Iran's forgotten people. Not this one, excuse me.
What up, African world? It's Something here, and welcome back to another.
Did I make a mistake? I apologize. I have so many videos. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a short one. Fair use.
When the average person thinks of Iran, the first image that comes up is probably of the modern-day Islamic Republic, led by its supreme leader. Others think of the ancient Persians that once dominated the Middle East. Either way, it's doubtful that many know about the diversity within the country. Many assume that the Persian-speaking citizens of Iran's capital, Tehran, are the only group within the country. As usual, the truth resists simplicity. Persians within Iran only make up about 60% of the population, with the other 40% being made up of many different ethnic groups, one of which are the Iranians of African descent, who are estimated to make up about 10 to 12% of the population within southern Iran. The idea of descendants of Black Africans in Iran often surprises many. Even some people in northern Iran seem to be completely unaware of their existence. Those that do know of them have assumed that the people of southern Iran are darker because of the hot climate. The reality is that Afro-Iranians are descendants of Black Africans from East Africa who were taken to the Middle East as enslaved people or traveled there as laborers. Many of the ancestors of the Afro-Iranians arrived as enslaved Africans transported across the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean was home to various trade routes that connected regions such as East Africa, the Middle East, India, and parts of East Asia.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That's right. The slave trade just didn't exist in America. It also went to India and Southeast Asia, Malaysia. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. But hey, if you Malaysian or if you in that region of the world, you know that commercial, Asia Simply Malaysia. That was the best commercial I heard, a punchline for your minds. But anyway, I just had to put that out there. Anywho, so yes, the slave trade went all over. And this is how you get Afro-Iranians.
Most enslaved Black Africans came from the area called the Zanj, which is located on the coast of East Africa. Bantu people who lived in the Zanj would be sold by Omani slavers primarily to the Middle East and India. Communities of these descendants of Africans can be found not just in Iran, but throughout the countries of the Middle East who had access to the Persian Gulf. It's worth noting that slavery in Iran was not based on race. Many enslaved people in the country were also Georgian and Circassians from Europe. In the 19th century, access to enslaved Europeans dwindled after a conflict between Russia and Iran closed the latter off from attaining enslaved people from Europe.
Russia and Iran, huh?
Led to increased demand for enslaved people from Africa during Iran's Qajar dynasty. Often, these enslaved people were forced to do fishing and agriculture, hence why Afro-Iranians are concentrated near Iran's coast. Some were also soldiers or domestic servants for aristocratic families and royalty. Many in Iran prefer to refer to these Black Africans as servants because they feel they were not treated like the enslaved people in other parts of the world. Men would often be made eunuchs, but this wasn't universal because some did manage to have families, and women would be made concubines for aristocrats and royalty. Not all Black Africans in Iran were enslaved, though. Some free men immigrated to the area to work as sailors or pearl divers. Slavery in Iran would be formally abolished in 1929, and thousands of former enslaved people would be freed as a result. Today, most Iranian
1929, slavery ended in Iran. 1929. That's not a long time ago. It's not a long time ago at all.
African descent live in 3 provinces within Iran. Many have last names that are connected to regions their ancestors were taken from. For instance, descendants of those from Zanzibar will have the last name Zanzibari. Assimilation of these communities within Iran has varied depending on the location. Some have assimilated very well. They speak fluent Farsi along with whatever local language that's prevalent, and even participate in interracial marriages. Other communities rarely marry outside their culture and have a strict caste system that prevents social mobility. There are typically 3 castes known as Derzadeh, Ghulam, and Bukhar, and there is very little intermarriage between them. The Druzade are perceived as the highest because they are supposed to be descendants of free black Africans who settled in Iran. Ghulam and Nukar are seen as the lower caste because they're usually descendants of enslaved Africans taken from Gazanj. Afro-Iranians have had a major impact on Iranian culture, such as helping develop Dari music, which is a staple of southern Iran. Overall, Afro-Iranians occupy a fascinating part of Iranian culture, but their history is being forgotten because many would rather simply forget the sins of slavery. All this being said, as this history becomes rediscovered by historians and anthropologists, we must make sure we do not make the mistake of separating Afro-Iranians from Iranian society. Many in the Afro-Iranian community simply view themselves as Iranian and perceive the term Afro-Iranian as a challenge to their identities. While Westerners in the Iranian diaspora might look at Afro-Iranians as some newly discovered group in Iran, the reality is they've been in the country for generations, and to treat them as a people separate from Iranians just because they happen to be of African descent would be wrong. The history of Iranians of African descent must not be forgotten, but rather recognized as a part of the overall history of Iran and its people.
All right. I leave you with that last video because after, when we get into the next portion, we will be going into Esther and Daniel. We're going to end the first portion with Esther and Daniel, and I'm going to show you how in that final captivity of Persia, the Persians made the children of Israel, flourish, so to speak, giving the gold chains, the nice clothes, and all those things. They gave them those things after. So, hope y'all, now mind you, I hope you learned something in regards to the past. Please remember that we have one more section or just those few scriptures for close in heart, distant by religion, and then we have tons of videos, brothers and sisters, and news clips for the Mystery Babylon, the people of the book in Iran. And when I go into the Mystery Babylon, we're going to go into how the CIA has tried to overthrow Iran. We have witnesses, former CIA agent videos saying they were trying to plot against Iran. We're going to talk about the Shahs. We're going to go all into it, okay? And we're just going to release the truth, okay? We're going to release the truth, and it is going to be a pill to swallow. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the first portion of the past, God's hand, close in heart, distant by religion. Next, like I said, we will go into the last segment of the history of the past, and then we'll get into the present. Love you all. Shabbat shalom.